It's never boring. I'm gonna take care of it.
Welcome to Barclays Center here in Brooklyn for Showtime Championship Boxing Countdown Live as we are here in the preeminent venue for boxing here in the Northeast. I'm Ray Flores alongside the Hall of Famer Steve Farhood and Brian Campbell as we get set for Showtime Championship Boxing coming your way tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 Pacific time. We have a tremendous card on tap, a triple header on Showtime Championship Boxing. Also here on Countdown Live, we have a triple header as well as we have Ledwan Barthelemy, the younger brother of Rancis Barthelemy, the 2-division world champion in action. Also, Antonio Russell, who's the younger brother of Gary Russell Jr., the 126-pound world champion. He's in action. Also, former light heavyweight contender Edwin Bomba Rodriguez has a matchup here as well. But we are here for Showtime Championship Boxing. If you don't have Showtime, go to getshowtime.com to start your free trial now. Gentlemen, let's start off with what is going to lead off Showtime Championship Boxing as we have a matchup featuring two up-and-coming, very hungry featherweights. Brian DeGracia going head-to-head against Eduardo Ramirez. Steve, originally it was supposed to be Nunez and Cherry. That fight got scrapped, and lo and behold, now we have a significant matchup here at 126 pounds.
And I think a very good style matchup. DeGracia is the bigger puncher, maybe the more unproven fighter, and Ramirez is... You have two fighters going at each other, and it's a significant fight because the winner will presumably get a shot at one of the WBA titles.
No question. The co-main event, Brian, features the return of King Kong. And no, I'm not talking about the movie. I'm talking about Luis Ortiz.
The real King Kong.
Luis Ortiz, yes, the real King Kong. He will certainly stand up. He goes head-to-head against Christian Hammer, who has fought the likes of Alexander Povetkin and also Tyson Fury. But Luis Ortiz is trying to once again clamor for a world title shot. He's won 2 straight since the loss to Deontay Wilder almost 1 year ago. What are you expecting to see out of King Kong?
Well, everyone's talking about the 3-headed monster here in this renaissance in the heavyweight division. 3 unbeatens, 3 guys we love to watch. We want to see them fight together. Hold the horses here. Luis Ortiz wants to remind you that this was once a 4-headed division. He's just as good, right on that level with those guys. Fought Deontay Wilder, a year ago tonight in this ring to one of the better heavyweight fights we've seen in recent years. On that comeback trail to get himself back in the title picture, maybe for a rematch with Wilder. Tough out tonight against the very durable Christian Hammer.
And speaking of durable, Erislandy Lara is trying to once again become a world champion. Tonight, though, Steve, it will not be easy as he goes head-to-head against the undefeated secondary titleist, that being Brian Castano. Now, when I mention that Castano is a world champion, technically he is, but he is a secondary title holder. The WBA regular champion happens to be Jarrett Hurd, a man whom Erislandy Lara fell in the fight of the year last year in Las Vegas here on Showtime Championship Boxing.
Well, the big question, Ray and Brian, is which Erislandy Lara are we going to see? The fact of the matter is, the Erislandy Lara without the legs that have carried him so well throughout his career is a lot more entertaining to watch. That's why we got the fight of the year with Jarrett Hurd. I don't know which Lara is going to show up tonight because Castano is a pressure fighter, and he's going to bring it the whole way. If Lara doesn't have the legs to get out of the way, we could see Castano joining the upper ranks of the 154-pound division.
Yeah, Ray, it's that old saying, are we going to see the Erislandy Lara of old or an old Erislandy Lara? And I think Castano has that right style to bring out whatever is left in him because Castano is going to get up in your grill. He said in the press conference this week, I'm like a demolisher. I come after you. This is his real opportunity to get known. Yes, he's got a piece of that WBA title, headlining a card in the Barclays Center in Brooklyn on Showtime against the man who has basically been the face of this division. Gives Castano that chance. He's on some kind of run there as a power puncher, putting pressure on you. If he can do it against a veteran like this, we got a player now at 154.
Yeah. Well, Castano is an unknown quantity, but his claim to fame is that he defeated welterweight world champion Errol Spence Jr. in the amateurs. Now, granted, pro boxing and amateur boxing vastly different. However, Steve, that is something to be proud of with Castano having defeated Errol Spence in the amateurs.
He has a couple of wins in the pros that are notable. Last fight, and they both came on the road against Michel Soro and Cedric Vitou in France. So anytime you win anything on the road against relatively good opposition, that's impressive. A little bit different setting tonight. He's fought in America before. That's a positive for Castano. I expect to see the best of him. We don't know that much about him. He's only had 15 fights.
Well, we're going to get to know more about Leduan Barthélemy, the younger brother of former world champion Arantes Barthélemy. Let's send it down to the ring, and our ring announcer, here's Miguel Flores.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Barclays Center here in Brooklyn, New York, as Premier Boxing Champions presents Showtime Championship Boxing Countdown, sponsored by MGM Resorts and Brooklyn Boxing. This bout will be 8 rounds in the super featherweight division. The judges ringside are Frank Lombardi, Robert Perez, and Alan Nace. The referee in charge of the action is Alan Huggins. Introducing first in the red corner, wearing the gray and yellow trunks, he weighed in at 132 pounds with 11 victories, including 7 by KO, opposite of 6 defeats and 2 draws. Out of Tijuana, Mexico, please welcome Miguel Esparo. And his opponent across the ring, sporting the Cuban colors, he weighed in at 131.2 pounds with the record of 13 victories, 7 coming by way of knockout, opposite of no defeats and 1 draw. From Las Vegas, Nevada, presenting Leduan El Problema Barthélemy.
Both procedure instructions, obey my command, protect yourselves at all times. Touch them up, good luck. It's showtime!
Leduan Barthélemy and Miguel Espiro going head-to-head. Barthélemy, who's undefeated, the last time he fought was back in September of 2017. Incidentally, Steve, against a man in Eduardo Ramirez, who is going to open up Showtime Championship Boxing here tonight.
Yeah, that was a draw, and as you can see right away, Barthélemy extremely tall for the weight. In the early rounds against Ramirez, he was able to keep that distance. Then Ramirez got close. It became a very close fight and ended up a draw.
And Brian, I was actually ringside for that matchup in September of 2017. And Barthélemy started strong, and then he faded in the second half of the fight. That seems to be his Achilles heel. Can he rectify that?
He's going to have to keep concentration the entire time, Ray, putting the punches together and also keep his guard up. That's something that Ramirez was able to do late in that fight. Just continue to touch him with clean shots. He was able to keep the judges on his side and end up with a draw.
We'll see if the younger brother of both Yan and Arantes can continue in his upward movement. And a nice straight left hand that connected. Meantime, for Espiro, he is coming off of winning 3 straight, although it has been against limited competition. Notable name, someone that you know quite well, Steve, is that he was stopped in the 5th round back in June of 2017 to Devin Haney.
Yes, and that fight was at lightweight. He's a little bit more natural at this weight, closer to 130 pounds. And right now, Barthélemy,
nice
being
right
able,
hook
yeah,
that connected.
He's
Good
landing
body
and extending his punches, too.
Good body work by Barthélemy. Nice straight left, backing up Espiro. And Barthélemy really sort of having, and now Espiro comes forward. It's almost like Barthélemy channeled his inner Mexican fighter and decided to rip to the body.
But let's not forget who he's up against. Yes, Espiro, a guy who's won some and lost some, but he is a native of Culiacan, Mexico, and we know the reputation of the great Chavez family coming from that town.
And a couple of weeks ago, we actually celebrated the anniversary of when Chavez defeated Greg Halgan. That was on Showtime pay-per-view, so something that was back in February of 1993.
There were a couple of people at that fight.
Yeah, the largest attendance ever for boxing, over 130,000.
I know Carl Froch likes to talk about 80,000 a lot. There was a
What's
lot more than
80,000
that.
compared to that? Right?
Well, look, in my opinion, the GOAT, Chavez Sr., he went ahead, he laughed, he scoffed at that. 80,000, raise it 50,000. And speaking of, when it comes to numbers, don't forget DraftKings.com. Get yourself involved. $5,000 worth of prizes are on the line every single Showtime event.
Not bad. Hey, you think you're a boxing expert, put your name on the line, start making some picks.
And we got more coming up as well here from Barclays Center. Nice shot by Espiro as he came forward. Thank you very much for joining us. Ray Flores, Hall of Famer Steve Farhan, and Brian Campbell here in the Northeast at Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Final moments of round 1.
And Espiro has jumped into a southpaw stance.
See if he can confuse or befuddle Bartholomew, and that's the end of round 1. Take a look at some of the work from round 1 as Bartholomew being very aggressive, ripping to the body.
Yeah, he didn't do a lot in round 1, but this flurry was certainly enough to carry the round. At one point, it looked like Espiro was hurt.
You know, we talked about his freakish height advantage for this division, 5'11". You would like to see him use his jab a little bit more to control distance and not allow Espiro that chance to get underneath it and get inside on him.
Well, in this matchup here in the super featherweight division, 130 is really, we saw Gervonta Davis last month in Southern California looking impressive as he went ahead and finished off Hugo Ruiz by first round destruction. But Bartholomew trying to get himself back and show that there is a reason why he was a hot prospect. I think some of that shine wore off a little bit because he was inactive in 2018. We'll see if he can reclaim that here in 2019.
Yeah, let's not forget, 18-month layoff here for Bartholomew. So it is up to Espiro to try to push that pace, try to get him into a fight early, get him out of his comfort zone. But you talk about the pedigree in this family. It's not just two-division champion older brother Rancis. It's Jan Bartholomew, a 2004 Olympic gold medalist for Cuba.
Well, Edwin said that the reason why he got involved in boxing was because of his older brother, not Jan, that being Rancis. They are very close, and they're always in each other's corners. But look at that long jab by Edwin Bartholomew, Steve. He's using it as a rangefinder.
And Espiro is definitely being given trouble by that reach because he's standing, not doing anything, not trying to duck and get low to try to get inside the reach. And Brian, you're right. He carries that right hand, Edwin Bartholomew, very low. That's sort of a curse of tall fighters because they always think you're out of their range.
Now Espiro goes back to southpaw. He's a conventional fighter, but now he is fighting in the southpaw stance with the southpaw. I think that is a clear indication, gentlemen, that he is confused as he eats two straight left hands.
Well, you know what happens when a guy goes southpaw. Sometimes he can trick his opponent, come from different angles, but you don't always see a lot of guys showing great defense when they switch from orthodox to southpaw. It can leave you open for shots, as you saw Espiro get hit clean there with the left cross.
Well, Edwin literally just went to conventional and he switched back to southpaw, so both guys having their moments, and a straight left again that connects, backing up Espiro.
You know, Steve, how about this guy Ray Berry in the lead? We talk about the Bartholomew brothers. We talk about the Gary Russell brothers. How about the Flores brothers?
You know, I was going to ask you, I saw that ring announcer. His name was Flores. He looked like another ring announcer I've seen. I can't.
Yeah, that is
figure it
my
out.
younger brother Miguel doing a very good job handling the undercards here in Brooklyn. Always a pleasure to work with family, and consider the Showtime family a part of my family as well. And thank you very much for inviting us wherever you are around the world.
Good combination punch in there by Bartholomew to get Espiro back up against the ropes. You'd like to see him be busy. I talked about he doesn't use that jab as a weapon, using it more as a rangefinder, but putting the punches together now.
Straight left down the center to the abdomen by Bartholomew.
Yeah, because Espiro is not punching very much, Bartholomew is totally controlling the pace of this fight, fighting when he wants, not fighting when he doesn't want to fight. And he's doing most of the landing. That's two rounds in a row for Bartholomew.
It's almost of the ideology, guys, that Bartholomew is picking him apart, that he almost gets bored with how well he's doing.
Yes, I agree 100%. And, you know, he can be a little awkward, but then again, his brother, Rancis, is very awkward as well.
When Steve, that's what happened in the matchup against Eduardo Ramirez. As you see, Miguel Espiro being talked to by his quarterman. But Bartholomew Leduan was winning the fight hands down the first 4 rounds, and then he was doing so well that he sort of he was complacent. And then Ramirez came back into the fight and made it a very close fight, which is why he went to the draw.
Well, you know, one of the bigger problems for Bartholomew, and I believe that's Joel Casamayor in his corner, the legendary Cuban fighter. Yes, it is. One of the problems with Leduan Bartholomew, he's been a pro for 8 years. He's had 14 fights. I mean, we talk about the inactivity coming into this fight, but he's been inactive his entire career, and you don't get better by sitting on the shelf.
Both Bartholomew brothers did cut ties with the great Cuban trainer Ismael Salas last March on even terms there, and I like seeing Casamayor back in the corner. You want to talk about a great Cuban fighter who was also offensively inclined and would go after it. And I think for both Bartholomew brothers, they aren't the traditional Cuban fighter. You do see a little bit more offense. Sometimes they take some rounds off. It can be frustrating, but a lot of talent to deal with there.
I think to sum it up, Jan Bartholomew was a bust as a pro.
Yes.
Rancis was probably better than we ever anticipated. And Leduan, we're not sure yet. We're finding out as we go along.
Well, we are unwrapping what we are watching with Leduan Bartholomew. The former cut man that you gentlemen probably know passed away a couple of years ago. Todd Harlib was so high on Leduan Bartholomew, worked his corner several times, and he said Leduan Bartholomew is something special. And Todd knew a lot of talent as he worked in the corner with Errol Spence and Caleb Plant before his passing. So for Todd to be able to bestow that upon Leduan Bartholomew, I think speaks volumes.
Todd was a great boxing man.
Quality trainer, miss him every single day. And Leduan going back to work.
Let's not forget something about Espiro here. This fight's at 130 pounds. He's fought as high as 140 last year. Last October, he fought at 147. Almost a shapeshifter Anthony Mundine quality there. You got to fight open. We'll hire. We'll be there, depending on the divisions don't matter, apparently, for this guy.
Yeah, and anytime you see a big range in weights for a fighter, it says to me one thing. He's taking some fights he probably shouldn't take. And he's taking it for the money and for the activity. And, you know, who are we to say they're wrong, but they're not fighting at their best weights.
No, I mean, the fact that he's here at 30 and he fought upwards up to 147, I'm sure if they gave him a call to fight Luis Ortiz, if something were to happen to Christian Hammer, he'd say, okay,
I'm there.
Let's do it.
Sign the check. He's been as low as 122 and change also, so he's been all over the map, this guy.
Under 60 seconds remaining here in round 3. A big night of action here at Barclays Center. It's all highlighted by Erislandy Lara as he goes after another world title, challenging Brian Castano for a secondary version of the WBA 154-pound championship. Another straight left back connect, snapping the head back of Espiro.
Bartholomew using his range very well to close this round. Pot-shotting here and there, but these are punches that are landing.
He's pretty much the only one landing.
Well, I'm curious to see also if Bartholomew is going to have more of an emphasis of going to the body. He had success in round 1, but he has since avoided that in the second and here in the third. Nice right hand to the body as he goes, ripping shots. He might have heard me all the way up here. Straight left backing up Espiro.
Espiro can shake his head all he wants, but we are seeing these punches land clean.
A little bit of showboating by Leduan Bartholomew. And coming up next, Antonio Russell. Now, they're all named Gary, so we are going to separate the younger Russell brother by his middle name, that being Antonio Russell. He's in action 12-0 with 10 knockouts. He takes on Jose Maria Cardenas. That is coming up next, an 8-round bantamweight matchup. Russell with an 83% knockout percentage. And I believe, gentlemen, that he is the more aggressive and ferocious Russell out of the 3 brothers.
Fantastic, fascinating family of fighters. They're all southpaws, I believe. And I think there have been 6 or 7 Russell, sons of Gary Russell Sr., who was a fighter himself one day, and one day a long time ago, and they're all southpaws.
Very, very George Foreman-like, making sure you keep that name in the headlines.
Exactly.
Steve Farhood is certainly with the knowledge. That's why he is in the Hall of Fame and an encyclopedia of knowledge when it comes to boxing. And Bartholomew starting off stronger and may have gotten a talking to by Joel Casamayor.
Well, I think if you're Bartholomew's trainer, Casamayor, at this point, you see the advantage in skill, you see the advantage in reach. Go out there and put the punches together.
Yeah, and close the show. What you're seeing from Maspero is exactly all the wrong things to do against a fighter like Edwin Barthélemy. And not just because he's not getting close, but because of the pace of the fight. He's letting Barthélemy control the pace. Barthélemy isn't doing all that much, but the good work that's being done is all being done by Edwin.
Well, Steve, and he's thinking too much. You can't think against a guy that has such a high boxing IQ in Barthélemy. It's not going to work. You have to attack, attack, attack.
Especially when you have the height and reach disadvantage he has.
It's almost to the point, Brian, where Espedo has to make Edwin Barthélemy uncomfortable. And he gets clipped again, does Espedo.
Look, unless his strategy is to try to stretch this fight out, try to take advantage of the 18-month layoff that Edwin Barthélemy is coming off of, it's hard to really, give him credit. You got to let your hands go. You got to make something happen outside of just getting hit and shaking your head.
Well, that's all Espedo has been doing. Guys, there's a philosophy in life that I believe in, and it is you have to learn how to be comfortable when you're uncomfortable. And Espedo is not making Barthélemy uncomfortable, not one bit inside that ring tonight.
It's a great point. And he's going to make him uncomfortable if he can crowd him, if he can make the pace a little bit faster. He's doing neither of those two things. And it's not news that Edwin Barthélemy is 5'11".
No.
I mean, Aspero has known about this fight for a little bit of time now. So not having a plan B, maybe not even having a plan A, is sort of inexcusable.
And Barthélemy will leave that front door open, so to speak, by keeping that right hand low, by pawing with the jab and not stinging with it. Yes, he's trying to set up his left cross, but there is opportunities to duck underneath and go to the body.
Well, as we're seeing with Edwin, he's looking impressive and not losing any bit of this fight. But does he have that killer instinct? Does he have that ferocious tenacity to go out and hurt your opponent? Some guys don't have that sort of zest. And with Barthélemy, wondering to see if he is going to bring that out or if that's just not in his character or his demeanor.
Yeah, I think his knockout percentage is relatively low. And more importantly than that, I think, when you see fighters who keep their hands in their pockets and you say, why isn't he throwing punches? More often than not, the reason for that is because they're scared of getting fatigued. And Barthélemy having a very, very easy schedule for the last few years, he might be worried, can I go 8 hard rounds?
And if he's thinking that, can you imagine as he continues to progress, the mindset of going 10 or 12?
Yeah.
I mean, back in the day, it was 15 rounds. So these guys get 3 rounds that they can conserve energy on.
If he just stays a little more active, he'll feel more confident about going hard rounds in longer fights.
There is Barclays Center here in Brooklyn, one of my favorite venues for boxing in the entire world. Showtime Championship Boxing comes your way in just over 2 hours. Ray Flores, Steve Frawherd, Brian Campbell, the main event. Brian Castano defending the 154-pound, his secondary championship against Erislandy Lara, also of Cuban descent. Castano from Argentina. His first opportunity to headline here in the United States. But right now, Edwin Barthélemy front and center is having no issues whatsoever.
And watching Yoel Casamayor's body language, Ray, I think he was calling for exactly what you've been calling for, which is more body work.
Look, the body is something, it's almost like investing in a savings account. Guys, just put your money there. It's going to be safe. Is it going to grow a lot? Who knows? But you know what? It's going to be there. You can go and cash it in later on.
Look out for that left uppercut to the body. Edwin Barthélemy has been close with that a couple times. You can almost see the look in his eyes, trying to line that up perfectly. That left uppercut could land perfectly on the liver, and we know that's the button you press, the fight can be over.
Yeah.
And Steve, we're here at the home of the Brooklyn Nets, and from a defensive standpoint, when you look at the body as a defender, the body will not move, the head will move. So the body is an easier target to find than that of the head or the chin or anything upstairs.
And every once in a while, you see a fighter, usually a world-class fighter, you look at his eyes. He's not looking at his opponent's eyes. He's looking at his opponent's chest. You see that every once in a while because you can tell where the punches are coming and when they're coming if you look at the chest more easily than if you're looking at the face.
And you see Edwin Barthélemy, who is continuing to use his jab. Nice right hook as Espedo comes forward.
Spiro doing a better job this round at closing that distance, tying up Barthélemy on the inside. Not really landing too many clean shots, but it's getting into the target range for himself. the best you can do is try to set things up.
That's step number one. And he's got to let that right hand go, always the preferred weapon against the southpaw.
Another straight left by Ledwan Barthélemy. You see his defensive skill as well that is being on display as Espedo tried to throw a right hand, and Barthélemy missed it or evaded it with no problem.
And Espero again goes southpaw. It's like he can't make up his mind.
Well, we talk about different heights in weight classes, even at 6 foot, 6'1", at welterweight, that is a tall fighter. But here at 130, the fact that Barthélemy's 5'11", that is just crazy, a crazy advantage for him when it comes to height and reach.
I mean, we're talking about Barthélemy, who's telling me who's moving up in weight from the featherweight division, and you got an opponent in Espero who is coming down from 147 and 140 for this fight, yet Barthélemy easily the bigger fighter in almost every metric.
Last SHOWbox show, we had a fighter, Michael Fox, 140 pounds, 6'4".
Wow.
Imagine.
Well, we'll imagine, and I think the only thing we could do is imagine Barthélemy possibly bringing an end of the night to Espedo because he's been outclassing him, but still that definitive finish that one would like to take away has evaded Barthélemy so far.
You saw that live shot of Joel Casamayor in the corner. He's letting his hands go more.
He's going for the knockout.
I think he is.
Barthélemy is without question he's a solid technician inside that ring. He obviously knows the fundamentals and has them down pat. But the question is, does he have that killer instinct?
You know, I think that's a question mark or stereotype that Cuban fighters have really fought against for years because we know how technically sound the artistry of the amateur background and pedigree that they have. But the pro game is different. It is a different ball game in there.
Well, I'll tell you who does have a killer instinct is the man in our co-main event on Showtime Championship Boxing, Luis King Kong Ortiz. When he gets going, he is a scary individual.
And a good boxer, too, not just a puncher. He really has it all. That night against Wilder, he came this close. Couldn't have come closer to winning.
And here is some of the work from the round as Ledwan Barthélemy using his jab and then putting and placing that straight left right behind it.
Just want to see more work from Barthélemy. He's controlling the fight, winning every round, but not setting a pace where he's likely to get a stoppage.
Round number 6. This one is scheduled for 8. Don't forget, you're watching a Showtime Championship Boxing Countdown live here at Barclays Center. If you don't have Showtime, go to getshowtime.com to start your free trial now. Now, a nice right uppercut that connected by Barthélemy. Barthélemy starting off very strong. Another straight left, and look at this tenacity. What we talked about, does he have that killer instinct? He's showing it here in round 6.
You know, this was the first round that Barthélemy had snapped that jab, really looked to use it to set up his left hand over the top, and you're seeing the results. When he can back you up and put those punches together, he is very dangerous with that reach advantage.
Espedo smiling at Barthélemy, but that's all he's been doing for the most part, that and absorbing punches.
Espero with 6 career losses, 2 of them by stoppage, so he has been stopped. One of those stoppages to Devin Haney, as Ray mentioned earlier.
Stepping up is Espedo. Still nothing that he's done of significance. Steve, when you are outclassed, isn't the motive to go and to try to make this a very difficult fight? Use your forearms, pressure the fighter, try to get close like this, use inside fighting, try to get some offense generated that way.
Yeah, make it ugly. Yeah, that's exactly right. And Espero seems to have the attitude that if Barthélemy stands on the outside with his right hand low, that he's okay with that. You know, they're too far apart for each other to hit. And every once in a while, one of them will make an advance and try to throw punches. But there's no intent, no attitude from Espero to make it an ugly fight, to turn his lack of ability in comparison to Barthélemy into an advantage. You know, that's what you have to do.
And Barthélemy has done seemingly just enough with that left hand to discipline him into that position where he seems to be okay with it.
Well, the one item, as we have 60 seconds left here in round 6, Barthélemy does have power, And that is without question, because otherwise Espino would be walking him down and closing the distance. But does Barthélemy have that one-punch knockout power? I think the answer is no. But when he puts together combinations, you can tell by the facial reaction that Espino doesn't like it.
I would tend to agree with you, and we can only go by what we've seen so far in his career.
Left on Barthélemy, he's certainly going to be difficult for anybody, 130, Brian.
You know, he caught Espino coming in with that left uppercut to the body perfectly. It's a timing shot. If Espiro's going to start to come forward, that could be a shot that could get him out of there. But how much time is left for Espino? That clock is ticking.
Final moments of round 6. This one is scheduled for 8 as we start off the night here in Brooklyn at Barclays Center. Showtime Championship Boxing coming your way. Brian Castano putting his title on the line against Erislandy Lara. That our main event later tonight on Showtime. Joel Casamayor in the corner of Edouard Barthélemy.
How many great fights we've seen from Casamayor over the years.
My goodness, and here we see some of the action from the 6th. Barthélemy, there's that right uppercut you talked about that jacked the jaw of Espino.
Look, when Barthélemy puts his punches together, this guy is a tough out. You want to see how he finishes here, because we've seen him take the foot off the gas. We led in talking about that Eduardo Ramirez draw in September 2017, the last time we'd seen Barthélemy in the ring. You don't want to get disinterested. You don't want to cruise to the finish line. You want to take the guy out. You got an opponent in there who's ready for it.
Well, it would appear like Barthélemy starting to walk down Espino more in this last third of the fight. Referee will separate them. Barthélemy with that long piston-like jab that he implores a part of his game plan. Steve, one item I'm impressed with by Barthélemy as he unloads a straight left on Espino is the arsenal of punches that he throws.
Yeah.
He uses uppercuts. He uses shots to the body, the straight left. He doesn't necessarily go to 1 or 2 weapons. He goes to 4 or 5 that he uses.
He has them all, Ray, and that's what makes it more infuriating when he's not busy. You want to see him busy because he has all the punches, and he can do one thing that only tall fighters can do. He can bang the body from the outside, usually a difficult thing to do.
Saw that check hook with the right hand Barthélemy employed early in this round, just as Espino was walking in. Multiple angles, a lot of craft here.
Well, it's almost like watching an NBA basketball team that is very good on the break and could probably score 120 points a game, but yet they want to slow down the pace and score 85 to 90 and win by 6 or 7 when they could win by 30 or 40.
Right.
You okay?
And now we have a shot below the belt there.
Give me 5 minutes on the alternate clock.
And Espino's going to take some time.
Bet you a buck he doesn't take 5 minutes.
Does someone have a stopwatch?
Show me a video of anyone that's ever taken the full 5, please.
Referees usually say, you have up to 5 minutes. You ready?
Literally. And Espino is up. That was an inadvertent shot as we resume the round. A nice check right hook that landed by Barthélemy. Another one. Barthélemy really starting to put together his punches. Punches and bunches coming out. A right hook to the body. Barthélemy hit a right hand, but still comes forward.
I don't mean to harp on it again, but when he uses that jab to set it up, it's really hard. He can disguise that left hand coming over the top perfectly like he did to set up those shots.
Which just a pestering shot is what it is. That jab sets up everything else, and Barthélemy has such a strong jab, and he has different jabs that he uses, Steve.
And I want to see him turn it up now. You know, he can see the finish line now. He's got a round and a third left. He knows he's going to be able to make it. This is the time to pour it on and see what happens. Maybe he does get the stoppage.
Well, let's not forget, boxing is a sport, but it is also entertainment. And fans love to be entertained by knockouts. That is why Deontay Wilder is so widely popular, and so many other guys. Barthélemy is a brilliant technician, but does he have the ability to close the show and entertain the fans with the stoppage?
Well, he's got just over 3 minutes to sort of make that kind of statement where we say, can this guy be a marketable force at 130? Can we start to put his name in that conversation? 18-month layoff, kind of forgot about him for a while. It's time now to remind everybody who you are.
And that's the end of the 7th. And when we talk about guys that are finishers, Gervonta Davis, champion at 130. Talk about a finisher, especially after what we saw last month in Southern California. And here's some of the work from round 7 by Barthélemy. Nice right hook.
And Barthélemy, you know, we're criticizing him maybe for not setting a fast enough pace, not going for the finish. In his favor, however, he's not working with a guy who's giving him a lot of opportunities. Very, very few counterpunching opportunities because his opponent, Espiro, is not doing very much, not very busy.
Well, it takes 2 to tango, and Espiro is not really wanting to tango too much.
You know, I'm interested to see what Espiro has for this final round. Has he been waiting up to this point to roll the dice and let it all go and try to catch Barthélemy at the end, or is he just here to survive?
I think the difference in talent is just too big for him to overcome.
8th and final round as the referee in charge brings them to the center. They touch gloves.
And regarding Barthélemy's future, you know, we talked at the top about this being his first fight after an 18-month layoff. Well, you don't fight a really, really tough fighter after an 18-month layoff. So he's fighting somebody he knows he can beat. It's who he fights next that I want to see and when he fights next. Those are two very important factors in the immediate future for Edouard Barthélemy.
And you do have to ask yourself, for the criticism we put on him, is it more valuable for him to go 8 full rounds here than to spark a guy out early?
Well, I'd probably say no, only because the pace has not been fast enough for him to gain much from it.
Well, and also the criticism that we are putting upon Barthélemy is more so that there are lofty expectations amongst those around him. You see that there's natural talent there, and it's just a question of if he wants to go and put together those punches and really go for that finish.
Has the name, has the pedigree, has the body, has some of the physical tools and advantages. He's got to be busy. And I don't just mean busy inside the round. I mean stay active, fight often. Let's hope he can start to do that after this layoff.
As we approach 100 seconds to go in the fight, Edouard Barthélemy, the younger brother of former world champion Rances Barthélemy, in total control against Miguel Espiro. Barthélemy has been away from the ring since September of 2017. That was a draw against Eduardo Ramirez, who incidentally will be on the card tonight on Showtime Championship Boxing against Brian DeGracia. Another big straight left that found its destination for Barthélemy.
That kind of reach, you can close distance in a hurry in these small weight classes.
Barthélemy going to work, and doesn't appear as if he's going to get the stoppage, but maybe for his psyche and playing devil's advocate, he needed those rounds to shake off the rust, and now he's ready for something more tangible in his next outing.
Yeah, he's 29 years old, Ray, and this was a fight to get back into it. The next one, you want to see him step it up and fight a little tougher opposition.
Well, he certainly has found his rhythm, has Edouard Barthélemy, as he has had no issues whatsoever against the Mexican in Miguel Espiro. Right hook to the body, that connected by Barthélemy. Well, Edouard, barring anything crazy by the judges, and I use that to throw out a PSA, but Barthélemy should be coasting to his 14th victory. Edouard Barthélemy in total control as we will head to the scorecards.
You know, say what you will, he kept himself out of trouble.
Fought at the right distance, maintained his distance throughout the fight. Didn't get sloppy in that regard.
Espiro had a moment in round 1 when he did put on some pressure, but outside of that was really never able to close that distance, and certainly wasn't able to land clean when he did, Ray.
No question, Brian, and it was the reach and the distance, the jabbing, which frustrated Espiro. And then pockets of body work as well. And Steve, that's something I'd like to see more out of the Cuban in Bartholomew, more body work, because he really gets a good leverage behind his body shots.
And again, he can do that from the outside. It's hard to land more than one at a time when you're that tall against to the body when you're on the outside. But every time he did it, he landed.
And Ledwan Bartholomew, they're talking with Hervey Estrada, who is his cut man for the evening. Joel Casamayor as well. 130 is becoming a division that is rising up the ranks, and a lot of it is due to Gervonta Davis and also a man who now is at 135, Vasily Lomachenko as well. But Gervonta Davis is certainly one of those high-profile names that guys like Bartholomew can look and say, okay, this is who I need. And Gervonta is becoming a financial, something that when you fight him, you can, gain quite a bit of money from.
Yeah, and the problem with Gervonta Davis is I think I'm saying this about almost every fighter in boxing. They're not busy enough. I want to see them fight more. It's the same case with Ledwan Bartholomew and fighters way above him in terms of status. You want to see them fight more than once or twice a year.
And now let's send it down to our ring announcer who has the decision. Here's Miguel Flores.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 8 rounds of action, we go to the judges' scorecards. Judges Frank Lombardi and judges Alan Nace both score the contest 80-72, and Judge Robert Perez scores the contest 79-73. All for your winner by unanimous decision, Ledwan El Problema Bartholomew.
So Ledwan Bartholomew gets his 14th victory of his professional campaign, remaining undefeated. His nickname is El Problema, and that translates to English as the problem. And guys, here at 130, he is problematic for anybody.
His la problema is inactivity. If he fights more often, we're going to see a pretty good potential contender.
Well, he shook off the Russ Bryan, got the full 8 rounds, looked impressive, and now it is up to see what is next for the Cuban.
And as he steps up in class, now that he's getting back in there, you mentioned Aspiro was really unable to close that distance and make it a tough fight for him. I think Bartholomew does his best work when there's pressure against him. He does have that counter-punching style. He will leave the door open with the jab and try to catch you as you come in. If you don't, he's content to just outclass you from distance.
And coming up in action will be Edwin Bomba Rodriguez. He goes head-to-head here tonight at Barclays Center. He will go and clash against Mitch Williams. And Edwin Rodriguez is a very interesting story. Here's a guy who has fought the likes of Andre Ward, and he's fought some top guys and some names that hardcore fight fans may know. Darnell Boone as well, Steve. Guys that are just tough guys that have been in there and have been in the mix at 175 for quite some time. Edwin Rodriguez, at 33 years of age, is trying to make a move, but in the cruiserweight division.
I visited Edwin a few minutes ago before the start of our show, and I was shocked to see how big he was. This is a fighter who we are very familiar with on Showtime through the Showbox series. He started out as a 168-pounder, went to 175, secured a title fight, but against who? Andre Ward. You get one shot at the title and you have to fight the best fighter in boxing. It's kind of almost unfair. Now he's a cruiserweight. I want to see what we can see from him at 200 pounds.
I want to see what type of style he employs, because we know him at 168 pounds as a boxer who would use his reach, work from the outside, work at a much slower pace. You guys remember when he moved to light heavyweight, it became bombs away. You saw that brawl in which he was knocked out by Thomas Williams Jr. And let's not forget that 2015 fight against Michael Seals, in which both were down in the first round.
Yeah.
La Bamba got up, knocked him down 2 more times to finish it by spectacular knockout. This was a guy who brings the excitement at the larger weight classes. What is he going to be like at cruiserweight, where for the first time in years, business has really picked up? There's some names there.
Yeah. Well, and as you get into, Edwin Rodriguez is 33 years of age. As you get into your 30s, it is difficult to lose weight, and especially as he went from 68 to 75, now that he is in the cruiserweight division, I think it is going to certainly benefit him. Also tonight, we have Antonio Russell, the younger brother of Gary Russell Jr., who is in action as well. Antonio 12-0 with 10 knockouts and 83% knockout percentage. as looking forward to seeing Antonio Russell as he goes head-to-head against Jose Cardenas. Antonio Russell, that is coming up next. Antonio Russell, who is a father of two young daughters, but they say that he's so focused and ready to make an impression.
I can't wait to see him. You know, there's much more of a focus on Antoine Russell because he was an Olympian, and of course Gary Russell Jr. because he's world champion. Antonio may be a little, you know, sort of the hidden Russell, and an aggressive guy who's fun to watch.
Yeah, there's nothing hidden about his power. He scored a couple of those highlight reel knockouts on his journey to get to this point. Some first-round ones in there. Maybe the most aggressive of all the brothers, named Gary, southpaws, fun to watch. He might be the most fun.
And now let's send it down to the ring for our intro, and we go ahead and we await the introduction with Antonio Russell and Jose Cardenas. Antonio Russell really has been on a run, and now he gets this exposure, waiting to see if he can go ahead and continue to add to his knockout streak. Now we'll send it down to ringside. Antonio Russell in action here at Barclays Center. Here's Miguel Flores.
Ladies and gentlemen, Premier Boxing Champions present Showtime Championship Boxing Countdown, sponsored by MGM Resorts and Brooklyn Boxing. This bout will be 8 rounds in the bantamweight division. The judges ringside are Tom Caruso, Larry Hazard Jr., and Alan Nace. The referee in charge of the action is Sean Clark. Introducing first in the red corner, wearing the Mexican colors with the white trunks, he weighed in at 117.4 pounds. His record is 16 victories, including 13 by knockout, opposite of just 3 defeats. Out of Tijuana, Mexico, please welcome Jose Chemo Cardenas. And his opponent across the ring in the blue corner, wearing the black and orange trunks. He weighed in at 116.4 pounds. His record unblemished, 12 victories, 10 coming by way of knockout. Out of Capitol Heights, Maryland, ladies and gentlemen, presenting Gary Antonio Russell.
All right, fellas, y'all had your instructions in the dressing room. Protect the mente, total momentum. Protect yourself at all times. Toka loose, touch them up.
For Antonio Russell, who is the younger brother of current WBC featherweight champion of the world, Gary Russell Jr., the Fighting Russell brothers. There are 3 of them, Gary, Antonio, and Antoine. Their father, Gary Sr., was a former boxer as well. Gary Sr. stated that Gary and Antoine will go on the proud to hurt you, but with Antonio, there is a totally different mental aspect to his aggression.
I think he thinks of himself more as a puncher. And you see 3 hard jabs to start as he opens up. We know that his brother, who's in his corner, Gary Jr., will let his hands go a little bit more, try to feel you out from the outside. Antonio coming in there to do business.
Antonio has this ferociousness. We mentioned about how that sort of evades LeDuan Bartholomew. Antonio is just the opposite. He wants to tear your head off.
I mean, he doesn't get paid by the minute. We saw his last bout last August, first round TKO of Nick Otieno. He went after him, and he got rid of him very quickly.
Antonio Russell certainly wastes no time. We'll see if Jose Cardenas, who is a 19-fight veteran, 16-3, 22 years of age from Tijuana, can last with the 26-year-old out of Capitol Heights, Maryland. Also, guys, one thing to note from Antonio is he's a quick learner. What I mean by that, in his everyday life, he actually picked up sign language, and he can actually sign as well.
It's amazing.
He did that. I mean, he's just a very smart and intelligent guy.
You know, the Russell brothers, they do it their way. And Gary Russell Jr., we know especially that's true with him. Not everybody loves the way they do it. You'd like to see Gary Russell Jr. fight more, for instance. But he does it his way. They have a plan. And they all follow it.
I'll tell
Big
you.
shot by Russell, and down goes his adversary, Cardenas.
Antonio Russell so active from the clinch up close, landed so many clean shots to set that up.
Booming punches for Antonio Russell as the southpaw looking for the finish against Jose Cardenas. Backs him up, a big straight left. Cardenas in some trouble. Look at that straight left, and he is swinging for the fences, is Antonio Russell. This is why it's great to be able to watch Showtime Championship Boxing Countdown Live. You get fights like this to be able to keep track of young, up-and-coming, budding prospects like Antonio Russell.
Well, you know, he stays busy from that clinch. He doesn't wait for the referee to break him up.
Yeah.
And he's very accurate with that left hand. He's slipping in right-handed shots to the body. You're going to have to protect yourself at all times, Steve, when you're up against this guy.
Well, Cardenas right now, he's just depending on one thing, a right hand.
Trying to time him, but Antonio Russell's overwhelming him. It is the speed, it's the power, the explosiveness, which all have Cardenas totally befuddled. Round one draws to a close. And coming up, we are an hour and 37 minutes away from Showtime Championship Boxing. The tripleheader highlighted by Brian Castano putting his title on the line against Erislandy Lara. Also, the return of Luis Ortiz as well. And the corner of... They are looking, Cardenas is saying they're hitting him behind the head. They're saying he's hitting him behind the head. That's what they are telling the referee.
It's the punches that led to the knockdown that they're talking about. Now you see here, and I'll tell you why these are not illegal blows, because the fighter is turning his head away. So if he's getting hit on the back of the head, which I don't think he was, I think he's getting hit on the ear, but if he is getting hit on the back of the head and is turning his head away, it's not a foul.
And I didn't see anything, Steve, that was anywhere near the neck or by the back where his hairline is. It was all on the side. You even saw the ear sort of wobbling and being hit by those thudding shots.
You know, if anything, the complaint should be how the referee's allowing Russell to hold with one hand and punch with the other.
Yes, that is the referee's job to try to negate that.
Well, one school of thought is if one hand is free, you let them fight, and this referee certainly did in that instance, anyway.
Well, they always say protect yourself at all times.
First rule of the ring, right?
Look at this.
Antonio Russell ripping away on Cardenas. Look at this assault.
This is savage. Savage work. Effective, though. Not reckless. Accurate, short punches in close.
Calculated aggression in bursts.
You know, I'm impressed with just the posture of Antonio Russell, just the demeanor that he puts out there. He's coming out there to hurt you. He's coming out there to take care of business. Unapologetic. True fighter.
He's the kind of guy that is going to blitz you. And we're here in the New York area. I mean, a quality defensive player, Lawrence Taylor, he knew what it was like to blitz you. And Antonio Russell was certainly trying to do that to Cardenas.
Hey, spread glove. It's the Brooklyn way, Ray. He's letting those hands go.
Antonio Russell trained by his father, Gary Sr., and also his older brother, the featherweight world champion, Gary Jr. They're all named Gary, but for the sake of keeping ourselves in sync, we call him, his middle name is Antonio Russell.
By the way, Antonio Russell describes himself of the brothers as the antisocial brother. I found that interesting. I've never interviewed him, so I can't say for sure, but...
Well, I've been around the Russells for the past several years in different events, and I will say that Antonio is more the quieter of the two. Antoine is the, a fun-loving young guy, and Gary can be that way as well, but Gary obviously has bigger things on his mind being a world champion. Now, and you know what, Steve? One thing that I would like to do, and I'm just going to try to throw out and play matchmaker or even network executive, kind of like Steven Espinoza. I would love to see Irving Gordon Hall. I'd love to see Antonio Russell on Showbox.
I think we'll probably move toward that soon. Why not? Gary Russell turned pro on Showbox. First fighter ever to turn pro on the show.
Wow.
A long time ago.
And look, and I'm going to talk to our boss, Brian Daly. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Antonio Russell again on Countdown Live either, guys. I mean, I think he could be a staple here.
Yeah, it's early in his career. He's 26 years old.
Tell you what, he fills up the time in the round. Look at how active he is to the body.
The father of two, hammering away upon his opponent, Jose Cardenas, here at Barclays Center. And coming up in our next matchup, Edwin Rodriguez. He is in action against Mitch Williams. And don't forget, tonight our main event, Showtime Championship Boxing, just over an hour and 30 minutes away. Brian Castano puts his title on the line against Erislandy Lara.
Hey, spoiler alert on that main event, guys. We're going to see action. Castano brings it. He gets up. He calls himself the Demolisher. He gets up in your grill. Sometimes that brings out the best of Lara. I can't wait to see that fight.
When speaking, getting up in your grill, that's what Antonio Russell did in round 2.
Nice mix of punches, body, and head. Little wide with those shots, but you can get away with wide shots when your opponent isn't punching back.
Antonio Russell. I'm going to borrow a term from the late Gorilla Monsoon in sports entertainment. He was like a house on fire when it comes to his action.
A Gorilla Monsoon reference. I like that. I'm an old wrestling guy.
I'm down with that.
I remember when Gorilla Monsoon first came on the scene, they said he was from Manchuria. And then 2 weeks later, he spoke perfect English, and they lost the Manchurian thing. So,
well, he was certainly a wordsmith without the shadow of a doubt. And Antonio Russell is talking with his fists right now inside that ring.
Look, Steve, if you're Cardenas, when Russell moves in and forces that clinch, you got to know at this point, you're going to get a 3-4 punch package coming back at you.
You probably think you're safe, but you're not. You're in more danger than when you're in ring center.
Well, guys, I love chicken nuggets. It's like you're going to get 4 or 5 piece punches, but not chicken nuggets is what you're going to get.
And as we look at Russell, I don't know about you guys, but if I made a list of the 5 fights I want to see most, everybody wants to see Joshua Wilder. That's a given.
Yes.
Maybe, Crawford Spence, yes. The one that would be very near the top of my list is Gary Russell and Leo Santa Cruz. What a fantastic matchup that would be.
Such a great style, clash, contrast.
Big shots again by Antonio Russell. Cardenas trying to throw, and he's winging shots. I think Cardenas is understanding he's going to have to fight with his back on the ropes, and now he's just winging shots.
Yeah, Cardenas just 22 years old, getting an education in this fight. This is just his second fight outside of his native Mexico. Lost a decision to 15-0 Melvin Lopez last October in his U.S. debut. He's putting that right hand out there. He is catching Russell at certain times. But he's also leaving that target open for punches and bunches as Russell comes closer.
Russell continues to walk down Cardenas.
And I know they're different opponents, but this is the kind of aggressiveness and intent that we were hoping to see from Leduan Bartholomew that we did not see.
Well, it's just mindsets. And Antonio Russell wants to come out and he wants to destroy you, like physically destroy you. Bartholomew has it more of a mindset, a sportsman. I'm going to go out and play boxing. You don't play boxing, you have to fight.
It is a representation a lot of times where you come from, and I mentioned it earlier. The Cuban boxers, a lot of them think of themselves as artists, what they do out there. And when you watch it, especially on the amateur level, there's certainly an artistry to that. It's like painting a grand masterpiece here. Russell has a much different demeanor and body language. And he's not always doing it with the jab, Steve. He's sort of just picking his spots coming in and letting those hands go when he gets close.
His best moments have been in close range.
As we near the end here of the third between Antonio Russell and Jose Cardenas. There you see the entire Russell clan. Gary Jr., the featherweight world champion. Also, his brother Antoine Russell was there as well. Lead trainer Gary Sr. Come on, man. Use your jab. Come on, keep moving. Let's go. Pretty much trying to pump him up, and they are asking him, they want him to move more. They want Cardenas to move more and circle away. Well, easier said than done when you have an equally as quick, if not faster, Antonio Russell, who is hot on your trail.
Oh, there's a stiff jab from Cardenas there. That's how you use your length.
Well, it looked like Cardenas was going to get and have a short night, but he is up to the challenge when it comes to, showing that he is a viable opponent for Antonio Russell.
I mean, he's letting his hands go when Russell does close distance, but he's really been unable to defend the infighting of Russell, and you're seeing it right there. He is just wide open to these shots when Russell closes distance.
Russell trying to close the distance as Cardenas trying to throw with his back on the ropes. Boom, big straight left hand that clipped Cardenas. Antonio Russell looking to do damage on the inside as he uses his elbows and tries to get closer.
They say it takes two to clinch. Well, you know what? Cardenas is trying to clinch. Russell won't let him.
Cardenas finally trying to push him away, but this is the worst part of town that Cardenas wants to find himself right now.
You do not want to have your back against the wall with Antonio Russell winging shots from a multitude of angles.
Steve Russell with 1993, his year of birth tattooed on his back. I hear you also have the same on yours.
It's not my year of birth, though. That's the only problem. It's the year I turned 50.
The Hall of Famer Steve Farhood joining us, the Encyclopedia of Boxing, also unofficial scorer for Showtime Championship Boxing. Brian Campbell as well, Ray Flores here in Brooklyn at Barclays Center. Antonio Russell and Jose Cardenas.
Russell taking the foot off the pedal just a little bit right now. You wonder how far the three Russells will go. One is already a world champ. Antoine Russell being an Olympian, sky's the limit for him. There are a lot of great brothers in boxing, but not many sets of three or more brothers who have been really successful. The Kameda brothers in Japan, all world champions, three of them.
Wow.
That's pretty amazing.
The Smith brothers in England?
Right. There's four of those, I believe.
Callum, Liam,
Paul. We're leaving one out.
Ringo, George.
Well, Callum's a world champion anyway.
Doubling up on the jab is Antonio Russell.
I would love to have been at the show in Mexico many years ago where 7 Canelo Alvarez brothers fought on the same card.
Wow.
7.
Wow.
Only about 3 of them won, believe it or not.
Talk about, you can make an argument, that could be a family reunion.
Yeah. It's not easy being the younger brother of someone as famous as Gary Russell Jr., as successful as Gary Russell Jr. It comes with a lot of pressure.
Well, the brothers certainly relishing under that limelight as we are halfway home of this 8-round matchup. And coming up next, Edwin Bomba Rodriguez. He's in action, jumping up to cruiserweight to take on Mitch Williams. That is up next here on Showtime Championship Boxing Countdown Live.
Wait till you see Mitch Williams' slider. Very, very effective.
The wild thing.
Oh, my goodness. We are in the midst of spring training for baseball here in the United States. And
when it comes to end swells, Steve, that's
cool.
That's gladiator style
I like
right
that.
there.
It almost looks like a Mardi Gras, Mardi Gras mask, guys, that they are using.
Almost a Deontay Wilder eyes wide shut
Yes.
style match.
Very much so.
I can't say I've ever seen that before. Have you?
The film or the mask?
No, the end
film?
swell.
Oh, the end swell. Well, I know that. It looked like Cardenas wanted to close his eyes and just throw punches with the aggression by Russell. Antonio Russell dominating Jose Cardenas, but it has been eventful, guys. It has been an exciting matchup here.
It's been dictated by the pressure that Russell's been able to put on, especially when he can close distance and get inside. Takes a little out of you, though, Steve, to let go 8, 9, 10, 11 punches in close. And I think you saw at the end of round 4, Russell, like you mentioned, sort of took a few steps back, took a couple breaths in,
Yeah, he's had a couple of flurries per round, I'd say, right? But they've been very effective flurries.
Well, Russell is in here, and he has won 5 straight by stoppage. So this could be a good learning experience for him to be able to throw a lot of the kitchen sink at Cardenas. And Cardenas is in front of him. So how do you go ahead and still find a way to close out the opponent? Cardenas waiting for that opening, but Russell has a very good guard, solid defense. You know, there's one thing with fighters, some guys have, I mean, the greats are very good at a variety of things. Good offense, solid defense, quality footwork. Russell is an offensive fighter, but also has some solid defense.
Very responsible in the way he keeps up his guard. Certainly he has the quickness, has the movement to get out of trouble. He's only seemingly been cornered when he has wanted to, when he's sort of taken a quick break.
And he's a relatively long fighter for this division. He just happens to be fighting a guy who's even taller than he is. But that's something to think about when you think of the future of Antonio Russell. He's a bantamweight, junior bantamweight, who's fighting out of Maryland and D.C. It's very hard for East Coast fighters to advance very far when they weigh as little as Russell, because there just aren't that many fighters to fight. You very often have to fight Mexican opposition or go to the West Coast and fight Mexican-American opposition.
Steve, that's a brilliant point, because when you think of the area in which the Russells live, you're thinking of like Jared Hurd territory. You're thinking of, obviously, the Russells have made a footprint down there as well, but you're thinking Julian Williams. You know, there is a litany of other names that are around in heavier weight classes that you can go ahead and all come to mind. The Peterson brothers as well.
There just aren't a lot of Americans who fight at 115 pounds or even 118 pounds.
A straight left that connects by Russell. Now Russell, close distance as Cardenas ties him up.
You know, Russell introduced the lead left hand during that last flurry. Seems to be a punch he can get off first. I mean, he's done well to really limit Cardenas' opportunities to get off first.
As we near the conclusion of round 5 here at Barclays Center.
Whoa. That came after the bell.
A little bit of a late action following the tolling of the bell. Listen, go to the body. Come on, go to the body. And here is some of the action from round 5. And Russell literally in the chest of Cardenas.
You know, Russell's mixing up high and low when he does get him against the ropes. He's going just as hard to the body as he is with those overhand lefts, and it's really giving Cardenas a tough time to pick his poison.
Yeah, and Cardenas keeps trying to apply that headlock, and it's not working because both of Russell's hands are free.
Unable to get that sneaky headlock in is Cardenas, and he eats a straight left to start the 6th. He backed him up, and now Russell, that might have hurt Cardenas.
Yeah, Russell looks like he's going for it right now.
Russell with a big straight left. Now look at this. He is teeing off on Cardenas. Referee in charge, wide on top of it, and he waves it off. This one is over. Antonio Russell with his 6th straight stoppage. And he looked mightily impressive as he dismantles Jose Cardenas here at Barclays Center.
Talked about the posture. We talked about the demeanor. Russell came in there to do business this round. Knew he had his opponent maybe vulnerable. Went out there with that lead left hand to start it off and then finished him. You saw the ringside doctor jump up there, Steve, to wave it off.
And you know, the referee who stops a fight in that situation, it's not really his fault, but sometimes they look bad because the opponent who just got stopped is starting to throw punches, and that was the case here.
No question, and the referee, I thought, did a marvelous job because the round started off, as you pointed out, Brian, a big straight left by Antonio Russell, and then let's take a look at it. Here is how he finished off the fight. He was accurate, dangerous, and knew that he had his opponent hurt.
Well, you're seeing nothing coming back at this point, and that's why the referee stepped in. if you move your hands and you're the offensive fighter in that situation, you move your hands enough, you're almost forcing the referee's hand.
I think it was the ringside doctor, Steve. You saw his hands right there. He was the one who jumped on the apron, got the referee's attention to wave that off.
So it wasn't really the referee's call.
Well, it was a total team effort to try to wave it off. There is Jose Cardenas, who fought hard but was stopped, and he becomes the 6th straight victim to fall prey to Antonio Russell by stoppage. And now we'll send it down to our ring announcer for the official particulars. Here's Miguel Flores.
Ladies and gentlemen, the end comes at 22 seconds into round number 6. For your winner by TKO and still undefeated, Gary Antonio Russell.
Antonio Russell elevates his record to 13-0 with 11 knockouts, much to the delight of his father, Gary Sr., his older brother, Gary Jr., who's the featherweight champion of the world, and his younger brother, the Olympian, Antoine Russell. So, Antonio Russell, 13-0, 11 knockouts. And guys, I'm excited to see what the future has to hold for Antonio Russell, because he, I think, is one of the most compelling and up-and-coming prospects that we are seeing in boxing today.
I agree, and the same can be said of Antoine Russell as well. So a Russell here, a Russell there, a Russell everywhere.
Well, you mentioned, look, does the 118-pound weight class at the moment maybe doesn't have a large identity in terms of the U.S. with many big names. That's a guy. That's a name I want to follow. Antonio Russell, 13-0, 11 KOs, and comes out with that demeanor, that posture, puts those punches together.
Well, a name that we have followed for quite some time is that of Edwin Rodriguez. Rodriguez has fought for the world title and now is campaigning in the cruiserweight division. His task tonight is Mitch Williams, as we will bring you that fight momentarily here at Barclays Center in Brooklyn. And Edwin Rodriguez, been around for a while, has pretty much seen it all, but can he find that, a good second half of his career, or can he extend his career by fighting here in the cruiserweight division?
He was 180 last fight, guys. He's 198 tonight. That's a big. Now he's 6'1", so he has the height and the range and the length to perhaps fight at cruiserweight. But until he does it, you can't assume that he's going to be successful at this weight.
Yeah, he was always a little bit of a tweener in the standpoint that really could box, but wasn't a pure boxer.
Right.
Could bang, but wasn't known as a big puncher, a giant finisher. That's why it's going to be really interesting to me what identity he takes at cruiserweight.
Yeah.
Maybe against Mitch Williams tonight, we'll get a little bit of a taste of that limited competition to a certain degree, but you want to see what type of role is he going to take, because like I mentioned, there are some dangerous names out there at cruiserweight. We've seen back-to-back tournaments in the WBSS. There's some big names out there.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? It's one of those things, and Steve, you pointed it out, the fact that Rodriguez weighed in at 180, the fact that he's almost 20 pounds heavier, that could be a benefit, but it could also be a detriment as well, because is his speed going to come up with him? His power, obviously power will translate, but will he have the speed? Will he have the mobility to be able to keep his opponents and do the things that he's used to doing?
Well, I think the eye test is going to tell us a lot. What does he look like at this weight? Because it wasn't that long ago. It was only 3-4 months ago that he fought at 180 pounds. So did he put this weight on correctly? Did he do it with nutrition and weightlifting and add muscle? Or is it going to be chub around his middle? That's what we'll see. I couldn't tell in the dressing room because he was dressed.
Well, I saw photos yesterday during the weigh-in, and he looks to be in very good shape, Brian. So at least aesthetically, Rodriguez looks to be holding the weight very well.
Absolutely. Look, this has always been a very honest fighter, a fighter who can carry out a good game plan. Only 2 defeats up to this point to his name, still just 33 years old. We know in these higher weight classes you can age much more gracefully, and here's a guy who potentially can bring speed and some boxing ability there. It'd be very interesting.
And also, he has a propensity for the dramatic. The matchup that we talked about is against Thomas Top Dog Williams Jr. Now, the recently retired Thomas Williams. He had Williams hurt, was very close to bringing an end to his night, and then he got clipped, and then the fight went the other way in the second round. But Edwin Rodriguez certainly has a flair for the dramatic.
And the fight against Seals before the fight against, he was down in that fight as well. So if he doesn't have the chin to take the bigger punches from the bigger guys, that's going to be a problem as well. He has to prove that.
And don't forget, if you don't have Showtime, go to getshowtime.com to start your free trial now. Also, don't forget to participate in the new partnership that Showtime has with DraftKings. On Championship Boxing and all Showtime boxing events, you can pick the winners. And today, and with every event that they have together, there is a $5,000 worth of prizes. And at the end of the year, the highest winner with the most points will get the grand prize, 2 tickets to every single Showtime Championship Boxing event in 2020. We're going to look at how you can go ahead and get involved. It starts tonight here at Barclays Center.
Get ready to enter the ring. DraftKings and Showtime Boxing have partnered to bring you closer to the action than ever before. Introducing the Showtime Boxing Pick'em game. Now, for every 2019 Showtime Championship Boxing event, you can come out swinging. Each fight card is the opportunity to duke it out for your share of $5,000 and a Showtime Boxing swag bag. Plus, compete season long for a shot at winning a trip to every 2020 Showtime Championship Boxing event. Here's how to play. First, pick your fighters. Select who you think has the best shot to win in each match. Then decide on the outcome. Will it be a knockout, or will the decision be left up to the judges? Then you must identify which round the fight will end, or if it goes the distance. All selections must be made before you can advance to the main event, which is worth double the points. Do this for each of the Showtime Boxing fight cards and get ready to rack up the points. They are awarded based on how many selections you got right. So join Showtime Boxing and take down the competition to win your share of $5,000 and play all season for a shot at tickets to every 2020 Showtime Championship Boxing event.
So that is how you get involved with DraftKings and Showtime. Let's take a look at the 3 fights that you're able to choose from. Make sure to pick winners in all 3 and the way in which they will do it. Brian DeGracia goes head-to-head against Eduardo Ramirez. The former world title challenger Luis King Kong Ortiz against Christian Hammer. And then Erislandy Lara contests for a world title against Argentina's own Brian Castano. That is our triple header. Make your picks as we are going live in just over an hour and 10 minutes. So 70 minutes away from being able to make your selection. And guys, I'm excited because the fans can certainly get interactive when it comes to Showtime and DraftKings.
And what a great card to start, because with the exception of the Ortiz fight, Ortiz obviously a fairly big favorite, I think you have 2 fights that are pretty close to pick from, and that's not going to be easy. Just getting the 3 tonight correct is not going to be so easy.
Steve, I didn't check the rules that closely in this contest, but 2 tickets to every Showtime fight in 2020. Does that include a post-game with the great Steve Farley?
Are we eligible?
I mean, I have to ask our bosses. We have to see if that is even possible, because, I mean, what a grand prize to every championship boxing event.
And no cost to play. That's the best part.
And you can do it anywhere in the world on your mobile device, on your computer, whatever the case may be. Make sure to get involved. Showtime and DraftKings talk about being at the forefront of boxing. My goodness, what a partnership. Edwin Rodriguez, though, is next coming up as he campaigns in the cruiserweight division. And gentlemen, it's always nice to be able to see guys that reinvent themselves. Everyone loves a comeback story, and Edwin Rodriguez can certainly have that comeback story if he's successful and make waves in the cruiserweight division.
And you know, I'm a little biased here because he's one of my favorite fighters, and I got to know him well in the Showbox days. He's impossible not to root for. This is a man who 12 years ago had twins that were born way, way early, very premature, each weighed less than a pound. I asked him in the dressing room before, how are the twins doing? They're both doing great. They're 12 years old now. And he's relocated to Dallas. He trains with Ronnie Shields or Houston. And I'm just so happy that his family situation with the kids is going well and everything. You know, you have to keep things in perspective.
Well, and also, guys, I mean, we are, you know, you had that story with Edwin Rodriguez. Luis Ortiz, his daughter, he was presented with a plaque for what he's been able to do. She has a rare skin disease. A lot of times in boxing, guys get involved in the sport to support their family. Deontay Wilder got involved in boxing because his daughter was dealing with spina bifida. So, I mean, that sometimes you were put in a predicament and you have to fight literally for your family.
I mean, boxing boxing always has the best stories and the best characters and the best access to them. But, you know, specifically, you mentioned Wilder and Ortiz. Wilder has said that's something they bonded on. They have a lot of respect for each other for that great fight 1 year ago tonight in this same building that they put forth. But Wilder's gone public and said, look, I'd be willing to give this guy a rematch because I respect him so much as a father, as a family man for what he's been able to do.
And gentlemen, we are here at Barclays Center here in Brooklyn. This is a venue that has produced many big events and quality fights since it's opened up in 2012. And Steve, what a crown jewel Barclays Center has become for boxing in the Northeast.
Well, Barclays is committed to boxing. You know, there have been a lot of shows here, a lot of really good shows here. And, you know, Vegas is Vegas. We know a lot of the big events are always going to land in Vegas because of the nature of the city as a tourist attraction. But outside of that, along with maybe the former StubHub Center in Carson, California, this is as good as it gets.
No question about it. And Brian, as we go ahead and look at the adversary tonight for Edwin Rodriguez, Mitch Williams, he's sort of thinking along the lines of everyone's writing me off. I'm the underdog. No one's even expecting me to be competitive. He could possibly surprise Edwin Rodriguez, who is now here in the cruiserweight division.
Well, you know, Steve and I were talking. Mitch Williams has never been the same since giving up that dinger to Joe Carter in the '93 World Series. Oh, the other Mitch Williams, the cruiserweight. No, look, he's got that opportunity against a name fighter in here to come in here and be tough, put in some rounds. Maybe try to get into a war. Look, Edwin Rodriguez.
He'll get into a war.
He'll make fun fights, but he'll also be vulnerable in one. You mentioned the Thomas Williams Jr. fight. Not a giant puncher, likes to fight. Can also be knocked down. We can see what happens, and we can have some fun.
Now let's send it down to ringside. Here's the ring announcer, Miguel Flores.
Ladies and gentlemen, the action continues here at Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, as Premier Boxing Champions presents Showtime Championship Boxing Countdown, sponsored by MGM Resorts and Brooklyn Boxing. This bout will be 10 rounds in the cruiserweight division. The judges ringside are Frank Lombardi, Robert Perez, and John Stewart. The referee in charge of the action is Eddie Claudio. Introducing first in the red corner, wearing the black and white trunks. He weighed in at 195.8 pounds with 16 wins, including 11 knockouts, opposite of 6 defeats and 3 draws. Out of Jackson, Michigan, presenting Mitch Williams. And his opponent across the ring in the blue corner, wearing the navy blue and red trim trunks. He weighed in at 198.2 pounds with 30 victories, including 20 by knockout, opposite to just 2 defeats. Out of Worcester, Massachusetts, please welcome Edwin La Bamba Rodriguez.
Okay, Edwin, Mitch, I'll give you up to here, okay, guys? Number 1 to in the locker room, okay? Keep it clean and keep it safe. Take yourself a long time, baby. Let's go.
Edwin Rodriguez and Mitch Williams colliding in the cruiserweight division. Rodriguez, 33, will turn 34 in a few months. On May 5th, he has won 2 straight, dealing with a 13-month layoff. Originally, Rodriguez was supposed to fight Andrew Funfara, but Funfara retired out of the blue, and therefore Mitch Williams steps up and gets this opportunity.
You know, Williams, 36 years old, the southpaw, knows his way around the weight room. We can see that right off. But he's an exciting fighter. He has, you know, a short fighter, compact, likes to get inside, likes to let those hands go.
And Mitch Williams fought Ismail Salam almost 6 years ago, and incidentally, Salam would go on to fight Sergey Kovalev for a world title. Both guys made their debuts, their pro debuts, within 2 months of each other. Williams at the end of November of 2007, Rodriguez at the end of January 2008.
And Rodriguez with an excellent amateur pedigree. One of the top amateurs, I believe it was at 165, one of the top American amateurs. Born in Dominican Republic, came here when he was a teenager.
You know, that's why I talked about coming in. We want to see what is Rodriguez's identity in this division, because when you do have that amateur pedigree, and ideally you'd think he'd have a speed advantage coming up from 68 and 75 to the cruiserweight division. Is he going to fight more like a boxer, going to fight more like a brawler like we saw at light heavyweight? Looks a little bit soft, though, Steve, coming in his first fight in the new weight class.
Yeah, I said the eye test would be important. He's a little fleshy in the middle, no doubt about it. But, you know, there's a problem with that. If you don't think you can make 175 light heavyweight, where do you go? Anything above 175 is cruiserweight, all the way up to 25 pounds more to 200 at cruiserweight. So if your natural weight is 180, 185, you're sort of at a natural disadvantage.
Well, there's no middle ground, as you pointed out, Steve. There is nothing there for someone that is like a tweener. That's what Rodriguez is. He's a tweener. And that was a slip by the man known as La Bomba.
We got La Bomba tonight. We got La Roca tonight. These are nicknames that sell themselves here, Ray.
No doubt. We'll see if their performances can sell themselves as Rodriguez looking to prove that he could be a potential force in the cruiserweight division, battling Mitch Williams.
I just want to correct myself. I said Rodriguez's last fight was only 2 or 3 months ago. Actually, I was looking at Williams' record. Rodriguez is coming off about a 13-month layoff.
14-month layoff for Rodriguez. Trains under the guidance of Ronnie Shields. Nice shot to the body by Rodriguez.
Rodriguez has really spent a lot of this round setting up those right hands to the body, keeping his guard very tight, not looking really to get involved in too much of a skirmish early on as he's looking to set the tone.
This one is scheduled for 10 rounds here in the cruiserweight division. Rodriguez placed the right hand on the side of the head of Williams. Final moments of round one. And Rodriguez and Williams end it throwing at one another. Hey, don't forget, coming up in just over an hour, Showtime Championship Boxing from Barclays Center here in Brooklyn. Erislandy Lara goes after another title against the champion of Brian Castano from Argentina. Castano undefeated, 15-0, 11 knockouts. Castano having defeated Errol Spence in the amateurs. There you see Ronnie Shields, who's going to be on the opposite side of Brian Castano in the corner of Erislandy Lara here tonight. Ronnie Shields, one of the preeminent and one of the best trainers in all of boxing.
And he was a heck of a fighter in his day, too. I was ringside when he fought for the world title and just fell a little bit short.
Wow. Ronnie Shields, I mean, it's nice to see former fighters become trainers. We saw that with Joel Casamayor, who is in the corner of Edwin Bartholomew. Nice body shot by Mitch Williams to begin round two. And Williams really, he's crowding Edwin Rodriguez.
Yeah, it looked like Williams took the first round to really feel what Rodriguez is going to be coming back at him with. Now letting his hands go for this off the start.
Rodriguez throws a left hand to the body.
It's funny, I was watching tape of Williams. He's not a fighter I'm all that familiar with. In watching tape, it looked like he wanted to do anything but fight on the inside. Tonight, he's effectively fighting on the inside.
A left on the top of the head that seemed to fluster Williams. Williams was saying it was behind the head, but the action continues. Rodriguez may have affected the equilibrium for a brief moment of Williams.
And so often we see when right-handers fight southpaws, the jab of the right-hander is ineffective. Regardless, Rodriguez is leading with that jab a lot. Not so much to score with it, but to set up the right hand, which has always been his money punch.
What's the fundamentals and not deriving from that whatsoever?
Yeah, Rodriguez very responsible with his guard, keeping that right hand up early.
Nice right hand that connected right off the left side of the face of Williams. As we near the halfway mark of round two. Well, we're giving you a variety of different things. A 29-year-old in Edwin Bartholomew, a 26-year-old in Antonio Russell, and now a 33-year-old in Edwin Rodriguez, who has fought for the world title before.
Yeah, a little bit of everything. Fighters at very different stages of their careers. It was 6 years ago that Rodriguez fought Andre Ward.
You know, and I'll give Rodriguez credit in that fight where I think a lot of people didn't. He was going to be overmatched in skills against Andre Ward. He thought his only way to compete was to try to brawl, was to try to make that a dirty fight. Referee Jack Reese, though, stepped in a few times early on and really threatened to sort of take that away from him. But he found that as his only potential path to victory, and he really tried to milk it.
Well, sometimes in boxing, you have to bend the rules. Nice left hook. That connected right on the chin of Williams, followed by a right hand. But that's what Rodriguez might have been doing. Getting back to my original point, is bend the rules a little bit.
Trouble is, Andre Ward's a fighter who, if you bend the rules against, he's going to bend the rules right back.
He's almost better at it.
Yeah.
I know we saw that when Sakio Biko tried to take him on the inside and rough him up.
Andre could fight in his day any way you wanted to fight.
Williams plodding forward. Rodriguez in the center of the ring. Throws a right hand.
Left uppercut there from Williams, found the mark.
Final stages of round 2. Rodriguez backing up Williams. And that's a right hand punctuating the round for the 33-year-old out of Worcester, Massachusetts. Take a look at some of the action from round 2.
How about the angle on that right uppercut there from the clinch for Rodriguez?
Yeah. It almost deflected off his own arm and landed.
So far through the first 2 rounds, what are you gentlemen seeing about Rodriguez's new weight class?
I like the way he's picking his spots here. You know, he's active enough with his jab, but really he's trying to pot shot, try to find openings, catching Williams coming in with hooks. Responsible defense. He's trying to box.
Yeah, and well, he's always been a decent boxer, as you pointed out before, Brian. I think the question for him after this fight, regardless of how he looks the rest of the way, is he's a little fleshy in the stomach, obviously. Can he still be effective at this weight class if he takes some weight off? Because he's probably somewhere in between light heavyweight and cruiserweight. But being in between is being in an awkward place.
Steve, would you suggest then to Edwin Rodriguez that he fights more towards 85 and maybe even 190? He could, obviously he's here at the cruiserweight division, but you don't necessarily have to go up to the limit of 200 pounds.
Yeah, I understand that point. And in the old days, 50, 60, 70 years ago, fighters regularly fought fighters who outweighed them by 5, 10, 15 pounds. Sugar Ray Robinson, Jake LaMotta, a great example. Today, that's not the case. So he has to answer the question, if I give away 15 pounds to another cruiserweight, am I giving away too much of an advantage?
Very true, as a minute has elapsed in this 3rd round.
You know, Williams switching stances, going to orthodox here, trying to give a few different looks.
Now he goes back to southpaw as Rodriguez unloads a right hand. Stepping in is Williams. Close distance.
Williams fights out of Mississippi, but, you know, we've seen him attempt to be a road warrior in the past. Lost twice in 2017, but in his opponent's backyards to unbeaten fighters, to Riyad Murhi in Germany, to Arsene Goulamarian in France, the second one by stoppage, but did bounce back last year. Got a TKO in December against Michael Sunkit.
And the 2 fighters you mentioned, Brian, were 20-0 and 22-0. So fighting them on the road with those records, your chances of winning are not very good.
So he's not afraid to test himself in enemy territory. And being here in the Northeast, he's certainly doing that against Edwin Rodriguez. And if you're Rodriguez, the cruiserweights that are out there got to be looking and saying, okay, this is a guy that is a name that people can identify with, and maybe they would give him a title shot just based on name recognition.
Certainly a guy who's been in there with some of the better names in the divisions he's fought in. Certainly a guy at times, like we mentioned, can mix it up and make fun fights. So this time, look, he's trying to come off of this long layoff, put in some good rounds. Nothing too reckless, playing it smart.
It's tough for Americans in this weight class because this weight class has been dominated by Europe for a long time.
Absolutely.
You had Evander and then a long gap.
Yes. Now you have a Andrew Tabiti, who is American Cruiserweight, undefeated. That ends the round. We are just under an hour away until we go live with Showtime Championship Boxing here at Barclays Center in Brooklyn. If you don't have Showtime, go to getshowtime.com to start your free trial now. Getting set to begin round number 4 of this scheduled 10-round matchup. Edwin Rodriguez clashing against Mitch Williams. Ray Flores, the Hall of Famer Steve Farhood, Brian Campbell here at Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Nice right hand that connects for Rodriguez. Mitch Williams still remaining in the pocket. He gets backed up with the left uppercut.
I think Rodriguez is ahead in this fight. 2-1, maybe 3-0.
You know, he seems more comfortable when he lets Williams come at him. Catch him with the short punches, walking in. I haven't seen a lot on Williams' punches when he does get close. You see him looking busy to the body, but doesn't seem to be committing and really sitting down on these punches.
Physically, Williams looks very impressive, but I think that extra muscle mass could be impeding his flexibility and mobility to allow his punches to flow.
You know, he's landed a clean shot here and there, but nothing that has seemed to bother Rodriguez at all up to this point. And that was something we wanted to see, a fighter coming up in weight. Do you have the chin? Do you have the power to compete at this level?
When it's almost, you know, when you are boxing and talking with world-class fighters and trainers, the mindset is to let your punches flow. Just get yourself in motion and let it just go. And with, on the opposite side, as we look at Williams, he gets very tense and, you know, kind of hurls up and almost hulks up in many ways and throws those big shots, telegraphing them.
Gorilla Monsoon, Hulk Hogan, we're all over the...
We are all over the place. But we are here in the place for boxing in the Northeast, and a big shot there. I don't know what happened.
He's hurt.
As, my goodness, Rodriguez has hurt Williams. Can Rodriguez take advantage of it?
Legal punch. Referee didn't rule it low, so.
Rodriguez almost thought it was kind of a little borderline, but Williams is hurt big time.
He's hurt to the body.
His wind has come out of his sails. Can Rodriguez capitalize?
Williams letting his hands go, but there's nothing on those punches. Rodriguez has an opening here if he wants to be aggressive.
Williams is standing in front of him doing nothing.
He's got to turn it up. He's got to turn it up and go for it right now.
If Rodriguez just puts the pedal to the metal, it could be it.
You wonder if he even knows how badly Williams was hurt.
And a big left hand followed by a right that backed him up.
How short was that left hook? Right on the money to turn Williams' chin.
Can Rodriguez close the show against Mitch Williams? The referee watching Williams. Look at this onslaught now by Rodriguez, picking his spots. Big right hand, thudding shot.
Time is against him as we close in on 10 seconds left in this round, but he's putting these shots together.
Williams may not answer the bell for round 5, guys. That is very possible as Rodriguez teeing off on Mitch Williams.
Bombs
look at this.
Away.
By La Bumba. Williams goes back to the corner, and he has a ton of work to do.
If body language says anything, he looks done.
It seemed like all the air came out of the balloon from that one body shot. We mentioned that awkward pause. It was like, what's going on here? Was it low? Was it clean? Are we stopping? Are we going?
You can lift all the weights in the world, but it's not going to prepare you for 10 rounds of combat inside that ring. And let's take a look at a big 4th round by Edwin Rodriguez.
There it is. I think that was the left hand. Yep.
You see the delayed reaction from Williams. Left hook right to the gut, right to the breadbasket, right to the washboard abs.
Yes. Round number 5, Mitch Williams comes right out and wonder if Rodriguez is going to really press him and try to get him out of there.
And you have to figure referee Eddie Claudio will have a short leash here.
Williams throws a punch there to show the referee that he's still capable of defending himself intelligently.
And that's going to be up to Williams to do that, to show that he's still in it, because the body language, the lack of activity down the stretch in round 4 was not promising. Although Rodriguez still playing it safe here, looking to set him up, not looking to overexert.
And we should point out, not that Williams looks like he's going to make a miraculous comeback here, but in prior fights, the most exciting fights of Rodriguez's career, it's when he had his opponent hurt that he ended up getting hurt and dropped.
Absolutely. So you can never, Rodriguez is one of those guys that you are walking a tightrope almost.
But
it
he
could go
can
either
be
way.
hit. He can be hit. Look, he's tough. He'll get up from getting dropped, but he's got one of those chins where he can get spectacularly dropped,
Yes.
as he did against both Michael Seals and Thomas Williams Jr., seemingly to be knocked cold and then bounce back up and continue the fight.
And with all the trouble Rodriguez had Williams in as a righty, now he's boxing as a lefty. I don't get that.
Not one bit. Coming up on 100 seconds, and I wonder here if Rodriguez, he's taking off this round, which is confusing to me because he had him hurt. He had Williams hurt and almost in serious trouble.
I wonder if this is a load watch situation. Did he let out too much in order to try to finish him last round?
And he doesn't know how his body is going to respond to this situation because he's 20 pounds higher than he's ever been.
Well, there was a period and a big straight right that connected by Rodriguez where he was not even active in that 4th round, and he throws a sledgehammer of a right hand, but Rodriguez did pick his spots in the 4th. It wasn't like he came at him like a Tasmanian devil-like mentality.
Tell you what, Rodriguez's best punches were those short, sneaky ones, just as Williams is coming in. Not necessarily coming in reckless, just taking a step forward. The timing of Rodriguez has been great on those.
Mitch Williams crowding Edwin Rodriguez here. Certainly making it a rough night at the office.
I don't know, we mentioned it before, Steve. Sometimes you got to bend the rules a little bit if it helps you in. Williams is almost being respectful. He's getting close enough to do some damage, whether it be clean or illegal. Doesn't seem to be letting his hands go enough, letting his forearms, shoulders go enough.
Hey, I'm sure he's grateful for the round to recuperate.
Well, he's been given that opportunity. Now, big right hand. Now Rodriguez goes after him. And look at Edwin Rodriguez uncork some heavy shots on Mitch Williams. Where was that? And now it is just bombs away by both. They are testing each other's bravado here at Barclays Center.
See Labamba talking to him, throwing his arms around, taunting him, almost like the great Eric Morales did to Danny Garcia in their first fight.
And you wonder, is Rodriguez saying to himself now, those are punches that I used to knock people out with. This guy's still here.
Guys, I think we can certainly credit Williams' toughness, but until he's going to start to put quality punches together that are accurate, that land that seem to do some damage, it's going to be hard to make a case for him.
Well, they're watching, and let's take a look at the end of the round. Look at that big right hand by Rodriguez.
He saved it all up for one flurry.
Well, Feud Rodriguez, much like what Antonio Russo did, should he come out and start stronger and try to hurt Williams early in the round and keep that momentum going?
I think the mindset, without getting into his mind, is that he's 20 pounds heavier. He doesn't know what kind of condition he's going to be in the second half of this fight. So he's guarding against overpunching.
Yeah, he has not used his jab consistently. He's really preferred to be a counterpuncher, and maybe there's an efficiency, a level of comfort in that.
Ray Flores, the Hall of Famer Steve Farhart, Brian Campbell here at Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Coming up in less than 45 minutes, Showtime Championship Boxing, all highlighted by Erislandy Lara going after another title against the champion from Argentina, Brian Castano. If you don't have Showtime, go to getshowtime.com to start your free trial now. Rodriguez throws a right hand, missing Williams.
Whoa. Is that a little behind the back there?
There's a behind the back. I've heard of a behind the back pass, but never a behind the back punch. Big right hand that connected off the skull of Williams. Rodriguez plotting, calculated, but if he's to bring an end of the night to Williams, and there's a shot downstairs by Rodriguez, that may have hurt Williams.
Look, Williams is tired. You can see the exhaustion there, and Rodriguez is, if you can argue, done his best stuff when he has gone to the body, when he has taken the wind out of Williams. Seems like there's an opening there to do that.
Chopping right hand by Rodriguez, followed by a check left hook upstairs. Steve, do you think that Williams is in any danger of the corner saying, all right, you know, maybe this isn't your night? He's still in the fight, but he's eating some hard shots.
Yeah, I think that one more time in trouble might be enough. And this round, he hasn't been in trouble, so
No.
they might be waiting for that moment before they react.
Because he's been hurt on 2 occasions from my standpoint, where it looked like if Rodriguez really opened it up, he could possibly finish him off.
Rodriguez seems very poised on managing his own gas tank. Really trying to be smart with it. You know, you got to give credit, though. Never been in trouble. He's had his opponent in trouble multiple times, where we start wondering if he's on the way out.
Well, now here's Rodriguez again.
Yeah, here he comes.
Can he go ahead and again show a flurry at the end of a round? He's waiting. Throws a left hand to the body of Mitch Williams.
Guys, I don't understand why fighters switch from lefty to righty repeatedly. It's not effective most of the time. It's a new trend, relatively new trend, and I don't get it.
It's a trend that should stop. Let's be honest, Steve.
I mean, some guys can pull it off. Terrence Crawford's
Tell
great
that
at
to
it.
Bud Crawford. Yeah, that's
I mean, those are special fighters, but some guys just do it seemingly for no reason at all.
But those are few and far between.
Not
that can do it
everybody's
well.
Marvin Hagler, right, Steve?
And Marvin Hagler cost himself against Ray Leonard by coming out as a right-hander.
There is beautiful New York City. You know, Frank Sinatra said it best: if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. And lo and behold, the Barclays Center home tonight to Showtime Championship Boxing. There's Ronnie Shields, who will be in the corner of Erislandy Lara later tonight. A triple header on tap will start off the action with Brian De Gracia going head-to-head against Eduardo Ramirez. Matchup in the featherweight division. Luis Ortiz, Christian Hammer in the heavyweights, and we'll end it at 154 pounds. Round number 7 getting set to commence.
Be interested to see here if Mitch Williams has one more rush in him. One more chance, let those hands go.
If you're Edwin Rodriguez, to make a statement would be to get Mitch Williams out of there. There's a nice left hook that starts off the round for Rodriguez.
You know, given the fact that Rodriguez is making a debut in this division, given the fact that he hasn't fought in 14 months, 13 months, I'm actually surprised he took on as tough an opponent as he is. And I'm not saying Williams is a world beater. He's not even close to being, you know, world-class or a contender. I get that. But there were easier guys to fight your first time as a cruiserweight than this guy. Because you figure you'd at least get resistance from him, and you're getting resistance. He could have been stopped in that round a couple of rounds ago. He wasn't.
Absolutely. And Williams is a good measuring stick to see where you are here in the cruiserweight division. He's been overseas before, fought undefeated guys. He looks the part.
Oh, and he's tough. You can tell he's tough.
And now a big left hook that connects on the top of the head by Rodriguez.
I mean, he's taken Rodriguez's best shots and kept coming. Hasn't been able to put much offense together. That's really been the drawback here. It's been more of survival, but this is a tough a good test to come back after such a long layoff, like you mentioned.
Moments ago, a right hand between the eyes of Mitch Williams. As we are at the midway point of the 7th round.
Brian, you mentioned before that the best work Rodriguez has done has been to the body. He got Williams in big trouble with that one body punch. We have not seen very much since. Specifically, the shot to the solar plexus, which doubled him over.
Yeah, really only when he did switch southpaw at the end of the last round. He looked to try a lead left hand, try to sneak one in there, but that seems to be the opening. You want to wear Williams down. That has been his calling card, not going back to it.
Come on, guys. Punch out of there.
I think Rodriguez at this point of the fight, he's still whipping shots, but it's a mental thing. He's trying to conserve that energy, and maybe he will be able to open up his attack more in 8-9. And he got clipped right there with a left hook from Mitch Williams. That was the best punch that we've seen Williams throw in quite some time and land.
No question.
You think Rodriguez's legs are saying to him right now, "What are you doing to me? I got 200, I'm carrying 200 pounds here. This isn't so easy."
Well, the cruiserweight division and the heavyweight division are where the big boys play. Nice left hook that connects by Rodriguez, and we'll see if Rodriguez has the long-term ability to withstand some of the top of the heap in the cruiserweight division, but right now having success against Mitch Williams. And look at the body language, guys, of Mitch Williams. Slow plodding to the corner. He looks exhausted. He's a fighter without a doubt. But body language would suggest that he just doesn't have the body language that suggests that he is a winner or even trying to win.
I mean, he had his best round, if you would, getting off 2 or 3 clean punches there in that round, but yeah, it hasn't been able to sustain for the full 3 minutes by any means. Any sort of offense, been more in defense survival mode. You give him credit for the toughness, stretching Rodriguez just a bit. But it's time. Time for La Bamba to go back to the offense.
And you get the impression that one good flurry from La Bamba might be enough.
Well, now, look at how long it's taken Williams to get off his stool. I mean, it literally took him... He waited a second or two after the bell rang to get off his stool.
Yeah, that was odd because there was a commissioner right there standing there, too.
So that just goes to show you, I thought he was going to not answer the bell. That's what it was looking like. Again, he's been a pro for a while, I mean, for over a decade, and those are those little nuances where it could conserve you a second or two, but if you're worried about a second or two more of energy, then...
You're in trouble.
You know, yeah, you have a lot of questions.
This is a fighter in Williams who has been 12 rounds. It's not like he's moving up from 8 rounds to 10 for the first time.
And a big right hand that connects by Edwin Rodriguez.
As you guys both know, for years the cruiserweight division was 190 pounds, and by raising it, let's see what Claudio says.
We're almost done, all right? Don't get stupid now, okay? All right, let's go.
I think that was the most New York thing I've ever heard. Don't get stupid.
That's what our producer says before the show.
I know, he tells me that all the time. Nice left hook by Rodriguez. That caught the chin of Williams.
Watch closely as they break. Williams keeping his hands down often. Rodriguez has been able to catch him very often with those short hooks just as they come apart. The times when the referee has not needed to break them up.
Rodriguez, it's almost like he's right there to finish him off. Right there, it's there for the taking, but can he go ahead and do so? And Williams comes back and throws a big shot and shows, hey, I'm still here. "80 seconds left here and a big shot. Close distance. Rodriguez trying to let the leather fly as Williams ties him up.
And Williams has to be careful with punching with Rodriguez with his back to the ropes because, you know, it's Rodriguez who's moving up and weight.
Oh, big shot and down. Oh, it's a slip. Looked like down went Williams. Williams just looks totally gassed, guys.
Yeah, the way he went down, it was almost like somebody pulled the canvas out from under his feet. So I wouldn't be surprised if there were leg issues there that caused him to fall.
Rodriguez has 40 seconds to go. Can he finish off Mitch Williams?
La Bamba smells blood. Short right hand, right on the money.
Yeah, look at this clinch. It's La Bamba clinching.
Well, yeah, now he needs to step back and start throwing. And there he goes. He drives Williams back. Big right hand.
Williams' instinct for survival is very strong because every time you think he's done, he throws a left hand.
Showing that he is still in this matchup. as we near the end of the 8th.
Let's go. Step back.
And that is the end of the 8th. 2 more rounds remaining. Don't forget, just over 30 minutes away, Showtime Championship Boxing. Don't forget, if you don't have Showtime, go to getshowtime.com to start your free trial now.
As you look at these guys huff and puff, it just crossed my mind. If I'm managing Edwin Rodriguez, he hasn't fought in 14, 13 months. He's 20 pounds heavier. I would have made an 8-round fight, not a 10-round fight.
Very true, and here is some of the work from Rodriguez. There was the slip. I didn't see where his feet gave off.
There was a left hook involved.
Yeah. Again, we will go back and take a look. Round number 9. This one is scheduled for 10. And if Rodriguez just lets his hands go, guys, in the early part of the round, he could very well signal an end to the night of Mitch Williams. But look at Williams, comes back and throws a 1-2.
Like Steve mentioned, doing just enough to stay in there, stay alive, stay active, maybe give Rodriguez just enough of a reason not to come forward and let his hands go right like we're looking for that there's an opening for him to do.
And Brian, now he's tying up and he's just wrestling. I think if you're Williams, the onus is to end this fight upright.
Yes.
And what that means is when you are an opponent, you are allowed, if you are stopped, I believe it is a 30-day suspension at the minimum. So you cannot fight 30 days, if not more. You have to get cleared. If you lose a decision and do not have a cut, you can fight pretty much whenever you want.
Right.
Assuming all health is okay. Now Rodriguez he threw a shot behind his head. And, wait a minute, now Eddie Claudio warns Rodriguez about throwing a punch behind his back. I thought that was a legal punch, guys.
Well, in theory, look, if you think about it, for him to be able to land an around the back punch cleanly, he's probably going to turn himself away from his opponent to be able to do that, and Claudio doesn't want a situation like that. Look, that's a long sequence there where Rodriguez has not thrown a punch, and if he has, it's been one at a time. Steve, I think what you're saying, moving up to this division, carrying that extra weight, we're seeing it right on front of us. We can say go for the finish all we want, but I think Rodriguez is almost just as much in survival mode here as Williams.
Yeah, it's uncharacteristic for Edwin Rodriguez not to be punching at this point in the fight because he's been an action fighter his whole career. This is the added 20 pounds you're seeing right here.
Just as we say that, a hard 2-punch combo.
And guys, I just got clarification that if you are stopped, it is 45 days that you have to sit on the sidelines. And thank you very much to referee Thomas Taylor for that clarification.
Thomas Taylor would know. He's one of the better young referees in boxing.
I think he's certainly making his way up the ladder as being one of the best referees in the world. Quality referees out there in California alongside Jack Reese, and here in New York as well. Benji Estevez here. Sade Murdaugh as well.
Harvey Dock.
Harvey Dock, yeah, absolutely.
And what makes quality
Harvey
officials
Wilson.
more than anything else? Activity.
Steve, listen.
Right? Activity.
Yes.
And when you have a lot of fights in a location, as Barkley's had, the New York refs and judges get more work, and they become better for it.
And that is the end of the 9th.
All right, both guys got just short of the finish line here. 1 round to go. Nothing left to lose. Roll the dice. Maybe we see that action two-way that we talked about with potential on the way in.
I think Rodriguez might be just as tired as Williams. He's just not showing it as much.
He looks gassed. He was bent over right now into the spit bucket. Was Edwin Rodriguez.
You know, sometimes when a fighter jumps a division, as Edwin Rodriguez is doing from light heavy to cruiser, Sometimes you say, well, he's coming off a layoff. He'll go back down. Well, when you're fighting at 200 pounds, I don't think he's going back down to 175.
No, I think he was coming in at 179, you could say, you know.
Yeah. No, this looks like a permanent move to cruiserweight, you would think.
And guys, I stand corrected. Who gave me the correction was Tom Brown, the promoter for tonight's event. I apologize about that. It was not Tom Taylor. It was Tom Brown who gave me the analysis on that. Tom Brown, a fantastic. I have too many Toms in my cell phone is what I do, guys.
But we still think Tom Taylor's a good referee.
Oh, absolutely. And I can tell you that Tom Brown knows how to put on a heck of an event. That's without a doubt of TGB Promotions.
All right, final round, nothing to lose here for both fighters. Time to let those hands go.
As we have 2:30 left, can Edwin Rodriguez bring an end to the night of Mitch Williams?
Well, I think it's safe to say Rodriguez is well ahead. I think that fourth round, when he hurt Williams badly, was a 10-8 round without a knockdown.
Rodriguez is still very dangerous. And I think, does he show limitations in the cruiserweight division? The answer is yes. And now look, he's going for the finish now.
Both guys letting their hands go.
Yeah, I'd say Williams has done better work in the last 2 rounds than he had in the previous 8.
Tell you what, you're going to applaud Williams on one thing. It's toughness. It's the ability to come back from the brink. It's going to be hard to give him many or any rounds, if you will, in this, Steve, although he seems to be pushing the pace the most, at least in this one, in this final round.
Well, they are both digging deep, and Rodriguez throwing wicked left hooks. But Mitch Williams throwing punches as well. 1:20, and oh my goodness, Williams, I thought he hurt Rodriguez there with the left.
Yeah, he landed flush.
It was flush right there on the button. Rodriguez took it well.
Hey, there was another Mitch Williams who was a closer. Let's see what we got going on here and see if Wild Thing can roll the dice.
Is that Joe Carter I see on deck?
I think Brian Campbell's ready for the start of the MLB season. Under a minute left here in this cruiserweight matchup.
Well, Edwin Rodriguez presumably going to get the W here, but he's got some questions he has to ask himself, which is, can I be effective at 200 pounds?
Yes, that is without a doubt the burning question. And we will find out a little bit later as Rodriguez moves on.
You know, and as he reshapes his body, which is something you said earlier, you know, would it be 5-10 pounds less, staying in cruiserweight, but being a little bit trimmer, a little bit more of a gas tank potentially, letting his hands go here. A little bit of a standoff.
Well, for Mitch Williams, he's going to end this fight upright. Rodriguez campaigning, he just got tagged with the big left hook, did Edwin Rodriguez. And that's the end of the fight. Edwin Rodriguez and Mitch Williams go the distance.
Hey, you got to applaud Williams for the way he closed it, the way he survived in the dark moments, and certainly the way he closed that final round. But Edwin Rodriguez was much busier, landed the more telling shots, hurt Williams a handful of times, just wasn't really able ever to put him on, close to the brink, but not nearly in that position where they could have called it, where he could have waved off the fight.
And go figure that Williams had probably his best moments in the fight in the last 2 rounds.
Yes, he did. And Rodriguez, he was offensive, but he left himself susceptible to getting countered. And let's take a look. And here is Rodriguez throwing a wild hook to the body. And Williams willing to throw as well. They were both throwing for the fences. And they go the distance. Edwin Rodriguez and Mitch Williams as we await the decision of this matchup, as we are under 30 minutes away from going live. Showtime Championship Boxing at Barclays Center in Brooklyn. A big night of action coming your way. If you don't have Showtime, go to getshowtime.com to start your free trial now. Just waiting to see how the judges have rendered their verdict. There is Mitch Williams, who gave a workmanlike effort.
Earned his paycheck, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Tell you what, no, we established it coming in, never a world beater, but tough enough where, hey, I'll see him again. I'll see this guy fight again.
Yeah.
Contest here in the cruiserweight division. Edwin Rodriguez and Mitch Williams awaiting the decision. Rodriguez are still waiting on the decision. I wonder what's going on, gentlemen, because likely not good things. It's always very interesting to see. And now let's send it down to our ring announcer. Here's Miguel Flores.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 10 rounds of action, we go to the judges' scorecards. Both judges, Frank Lombardi and John Stewart, both saw it 96-94, and Judge Robert Perez scores the contest 98-92. All in favor for your winner by unanimous decision, Edwin La Bamba Rodriguez.
Edwin Rodriguez gets the victory by unanimous decision. Closer than what we thought, guys, but still a W is a W. Welcome to the cruiserweight division, Edwin Rodriguez.
Some things to like, some things to learn from there. I think if you're Rodriguez, you don't like how much you left that door open just enough. Maybe for Williams to steal the last round at least, maybe the last 2 rounds like you mentioned, Steve, 96-94. Look at how easily that could have been swung in the other direction with just a little more magic from Williams.
That's right, the early rounds. If Williams could have stolen one of those rounds, who knows, we might have had a majority draw.
Back here at Barclays Center, Ray Flores, the Hall of Famer Steve Farhood, Brian Campbell. Guys, our co-main event tonight, Luis Ortiz, Christian Hammer. That is our matchup. 1 day ago, or tomorrow, will be the 1-year anniversary of when Luis Ortiz almost defeated Deontay Wilder, but he fell. Let's take a look at some of that action as we go ahead and observe Luis Ortiz going head-to-head. Had Deontay Wilder almost out in that 7th round.
He put it on him. He put him on. That's as close as you can come to knocking a guy down or maybe out, but not. And I think that was one of the turning point moments for Wilder, of course, to show his toughness. But that was a great illustration of what Luis Ortiz can do. That Cuban background, and he can bang.
Was Wilder saved by the bell in that round?
Very good point. And then in July, Ortiz would respond with a devastating finish over Razvan Kajanu at Staples Center in Los Angeles. That's a way to come back after a loss.
His power is legitimate. There's no doubt about it. And we're looking at an era here, not only of a resuscitation of the heavyweight division, but of big punchers, because we know Wilder can punch, we know Joshua can punch, even Povetkin, who's a little heavyweight, can punch, and we know that Ortiz can punch as well.
And then on the undercard of the Wilder Fury pay-per-view, it was Luis Ortiz who took control and dominated Travis Kaufman. And here you see Ortiz just going out and really hammering away on Kaufman, who's a very tough and rough competitor from Reading, Pennsylvania, but the referee had seen enough.
Yeah, I was impressed with the way Ortiz put his punches together that night. And overall, I've been impressed by how busy he is coming off of that loss to Wilder. And as we know, yes, heavyweights mature late, but he is closing in on 40 years old. The clock is ticking in that regard. But I do have a question, Steve. As much as Luis Ortiz can impress and get himself back into the title picture by being active and looking great, what if he comes out there and looks only average? Does that almost potentially help him get closer to one of these title holders saying, all right, I'll fight the name, I'll fight the King Kong?
I think that's exactly right, Brian. I think it would help him. And maybe he'll tell Deontay Wilder, hey, it won't be as tough the second time around. So maybe that would work out for him. I don't know. Keep in mind, historically, only one fighter in the history of boxing has won the heavyweight title past the age of 40. We all know who that was.
George Foreman at 45 when he knocked out Michael Moore in Las Vegas. Now, guys, let's get set for our main event. Erislandy Lara challenges Brian Castano for the WBA 154-pound championship. That is a title that's held by Jared Hurd. Castano is a secondary champion. Yesterday, they got things going at the weigh-in as we take a look at the challenger, Erislandy Lara, who made his way onto the scale. And Lara, 35 years of age, looks in impeccable shape.
You know, it's just weird to hear you say challenger for Erislandy Lara because he's been one of the faces, if not the face of this division for so long. But the key for him has been consistency. He's always been in great shape, and he's always put forth very strong performances. But the times when Lara has lost or when it's gotten close on the cards, sometimes you question, has he thrown enough punches? Yes, he looked great in pockets against, let's say, Canelo Alvarez, but has he thrown enough punches? He's going to have a guy who's going to potentially bring that out of him, Castano, who calls himself the Demolisher. He's going to be coming after him, and you know that, Steve.
The toughest fights Lara has had have been against pressure guys. Hurd pressures you, Canelo pressures you, Angulo pressures you. Castano, that's the way he fights. So let's see if he can pressure Lara and make Lara start acting his age.
And let's take a look at Castano. He stepped on the scale, 15-0, 11 knockouts. The champion looks in very good shape and says he knows he has to pressure Erislandy Lara, and he will break him.
You know, this is Castano's opportunity to get noticed. This Division 154 business has really picked up. We know the names that are lingering in and around. Hurd, Charlo, Lara. This is Castano's opportunity. He's from Argentina. We know the pedigree, the toughness of those fighters. And who has he looked up to for advice, a mentorship? The great former middleweight champion and Hall of Famer Sergio Martinez. Not a bad guy to talk to about coming in, potentially taking over America and establishing your name. This is Brian Castano's opportunity to convince a lot of people, because this is a critically tough matchup when you consider everything Lara's done and the skills and everything that's inside of him.
Well, Erislandy Lara thought he did enough to convince the judges that he was the victor, but it was that 12th round against Jared Hurd last year in the 2018 Fight of the Year, which was his Achilles heel and led to Hurd getting the victory.
I don't know anybody that didn't think this was a very, very close fight. I scored unofficially for Showtime. I gave the fight to Lara by 1 point. I have no problem with anybody who thinks Jared Hurd won. Obviously, the 12th round knockdown was critical, but it was a very, very close fight. And for Lara to fight that type of fight against Hurd and do so well tells you a lot about what's inside Erislandy Lara.
Yeah, and I think we need to slow the brakes, pump the brakes just enough on saying the idea of, is this the end of the road of Lara as a truly elite 154-pounder? Obviously, he's going to have to prove that behind us in the ring against a young gun like Castano. But let's not forget, one, how good Jared Hurd is, and two, Lara's not the only one who thought he won that fight. And I don't mean to come out with the hipster of hipsteristic takes here, but I'm not sure I've ever actually seen Erislandy Lara lose as a professional.
Well,
Talk about the Paul Williams, the Canelo Alvarez fights. I scored him the other way for Lara. Little bit of luck his way. You could be looking at a top 5 pound-for-pound unbeaten guy at 35, 36, so we're saying look at the career he's had.
Maybe we're just facing another close decision, Ray.
Hey, it could be that way. Who knows what is going to transpire? Don't miss it. Showtime Championship Boxing tonight, coming up in less than 20 minutes. Steve, since you're the unofficial scorer for Showtime, you are not allowed to make your prediction. But Brian Campbell, you certainly are, my friend. Let's start off with our first fight tonight. How do you see it going down with De Gracia and also Ramirez?
I like De Gracia. La Roca from Panama making his U.S. debut. He's on a really fun run here. 7 of 8 fighters he's faced has been knocked out. 4 in a row. I like him to continue that. It's going to be tough. Rodriguez can push him. It's going to be a tough fight. I like De Gracia by knockout.
Ortiz or Christian Hammer? How do you see this one going down?
Look, what's the best thing Hammer does? He can push you. He can go rounds with you. But ultimately, Ortiz is in that name, what I mentioned off the start of this broadcast, what I say, a 4-headed heavyweight division. Ortiz is still very elite. He's going to have to put his punches together, but I think he can get Hammer out of there and really continue to make another announcement that I need it, I want it. Get me back in that title picture, brother.
Erislandy Lara is known as the American Dream. Can he go ahead and will himself to another world title, or will it be the era of Brian Castano here at 154?
You know, I liked when they stood up after the weigh-in, looked in each other's eyes. Lara gave him a hard, long stare. He wanted to know what's inside of that guy. I think when he was in there against Jared Hurd, it was a rising superstar. Is Castano that good? Ray, even if he's just barely not at that level, I think Lara can win this, and I think Castano will push him. I think Castano will impress you. I think you're going to come out of this fight wanting to see Castano again, but ultimately, if Lara throws enough punches, and Castano is the kind of fighter that can make him, I think we're going to see a close decision. 12 full rounds, but it's going to go to Lara, the veteran, who can really throw those punches.
Finally, Steve keys the victory for both.
For Erislandy Lara, legs. It's that simple. If it's a boxing match, Lara wins the fight. If his legs aren't there, well, then Castano, with wide power punches, going to wear Lara down, drag him into a fight, and that would be Castano's battle. So I think the key to everything, we know Lara has all the skills, all the finesse, all the experience. It's a question of his legs. Can he keep a distance and make it a boxing match?
It is going to be a compelling night of action here at Barclays Center. Don't forget, log on to DraftKings.com and pick who you feel are the winners. $5,000 in prizes up for grabs. The winner all year long gets 2 tickets in 2020 to every single Showtime Championship Boxing event. On behalf of the Hall of Famers Steve Ford and Brian Campbell, we'll see you in only moments here at Barclays Center. Erislandy Lara challenges for the title against Brian Castano. It's Showtime Championship Boxing here at Barclays Center in Brooklyn. We'll see you in a few moments.
Starting to form. It's never boring. I'm gonna take care of it.